All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Market Open. It's been a while, hasn't it been? It's been basically 5-ish days. We did Monday last week. So it's been a week since we're back here Monday, June 10th, 8:45 a.m. Thank you all for being here. We are back. We are back. We've got a lot to talk about. So much has happened. I've had so many realizations over the past 168 hours. So that's 7 times 24, right? Do the math. I think I got it right. 168 hours and a lot of stuff to say, a lot of stuff to recap, a lot of stuff to talk about. It's been a long time. I think someone said here in internet years, I think Ty said that basically it's been like 3 years. Yeah, literally on the, in terms of the internet's timeline, taking a week off, even taking a couple of days off could be months or years. So we're back. We're ready to go. I just got back from the airport. So for those that didn't know, over the weekend, I was at a wedding. So I went from California, where I was at, and we'll talk about why I was there. Some of you guys still probably don't know. I was getting a lot of message over the week, like, why are you gone? Why are you gone? I thought I hopefully did the best I could of not educating, but telling people why I was leaving. But a lot of people, they might have just missed the reason. So we'll talk about why I was gone. But we went from San Francisco to Virginia over the weekend at a wedding. So it's been nonstop traveling all week, but now we're back. I think we're not traveling anymore for the next couple months, quite frankly. I think we're going to be home, which is going to be really fun, just to be home and just like get settled in. But this was one of the largest weeks of traveling for me. So just got back from the airport like 20 minutes ago, back here on the Market Open. I am tired, yes, and I do want to sleep because I really didn't sleep last night because the wedding ended at like 12 and like I had the flight at like 4 or 6 o'clock. But the energy is there and I'm ready to do the Market Open because it's been too damn long. So now we are here. We are back. Raul says, had me listening to Meet Kevin. And shit. Dude, a lot of people were like, yo, mate, you got me listening to Meet Kevin. Meet Kevin's not the worst, okay? It's not not a horrible thing to listen to Meet Kevin, but I'm happy you guys are back and listening to me as well. I have so many things to talk about, so many things to say. I don't even know where to start. I think what I'm going to do is probably do the majority of the Palantir AIPCon recap at the end of the stream. So like we're going to do the Market Open as usual because we got a lot of stuff to talk about in terms of the Market Open. And it's what, 8:47 a.m. So probably I'll be on a lot today. I'll probably rant and yap about the Palantir AIPCon takeaways for like an hour. So I'll answer all the questions. So it's 8:47. Market opens at 9:30. Probably like 9:45 to 10:45. I'll just be yapping about that. So we'll have plenty of time to discuss and talk about all of that stuff. I just don't want to do it right now because I'm going to go on a ramble for like literally an hour and we have to talk about so many other things. But at 9:45, we'll keep talking and keep going from there. Regardless, a high-level TLDR of the trip was a really good weekend or really good week in California. Got to meet a lot of people. Got to meet a bunch of friends. At the actual Palantir event itself. Again, I'll go in depth later, but the event itself was phenomenal, in my opinion. I got to meet pretty much everyone I've been looking up to: Lewis Mosley, Ted Mabry, Akshay, Samir, the head of US Commercial. Sham wasn't there at AIPCon. Got to meet Karp. I think you guys saw that picture I took with Karp and got to have a good 3-4 minute discussion with Karp, which was really fun. Just to like talk to him as a person and like look into his eyes and like him respond to like questions that I was having. It was really, really cool, really special event. And the whole conference was just incredible. It was just an amazing thing. I was in the heart of Palo Alto basically for 3 days, just maneuvering throughout the entire conference, and it was super fun, super awesome. And so yeah, thank you guys for being here and being back. So we got a lot to talk about in the midst of all this. So I was mentally prepared basically to take away from streaming and see the numbers go down and like not really be on Twitter that much because I knew this week was going to be crazy. And on YouTube, like, yes, like we didn't stream that much, right? We did one stream on Monday when the Roaring Kitty stuff happened. But on Sunday last week, Roaring Kitty comes back in full action, says he has $200 million in Bitcoin, not Bitcoin, in GameStop. If it was Bitcoin, that would be even crazier, in GameStop. And then the rest of the week, it's just covering this Roaring Kitty thing that's happening the whole entire week. Right now, GameStop, I'm assuming, is up right now because he tweeted another thing over at like 3 a.m. I was actually awake, or no, it was 3 a.m. It was like 11 p.m. when he tweeted like a Dark Knight meme. Right now, GameStop's up 3.72%. Dude, I have a lot of thoughts to say on this and I'll get into it in a bit, but the GameStop situation is just incredible. His calls are expiring. He has 12 million shares worth of exposure through 120,000 calls in 11 days. And so I don't know what his game plan is right here. The only way he exits this position is if GameStop pumps considerably above the strike price. With strike price is 20, he has to get to like $60, $80 for this to really pump. If not, then I don't know. So we're going to talk about that, see what has to happen. Robinhood bought a company. They bought They bought Bitstamps. And like, so the point I'm trying to get at here is like, even though I thought I was going to take a break from like content this week, so much news happened and there was so much to still talk about during the entire week that like you couldn't take a break from content. So I was like literally on Twitter the entire week, even though, you know, I probably shouldn't have been, just tweeting away all this different stuff because there was so much stuff going on, right? So we got a lot to cover, a lot to discuss, and a lot to keep going. Thank you all for being here. Really, really appreciate it. Does Carp know who you are? Yeah, this is the second time I met Carp. I think he, during AIPCon when he said no one believed in us except, and then he pointed our retail investors. He was looking at me and Arnie in that moment. He like deadlocked eyes with me and Arnie. He was like, well, no one believed in us except our retail investors. He just stared at us. So I didn't think I was going to meet Carp at this AIPCon because quite frankly, I thought I was going to, do my thing at AIPCon and he was going to do a speech and then he was going to go leave to do like business stuff. But he actually was there throughout the entire conference. And then randomly, I'll tell the story a little more in depth later, but randomly me and Arnie are just sitting talking to our boy Ryan, who also works at Palantir as well. Amazing dude in the USG business. And we're just talking and out of nowhere, Carp appears like a unicorn, dude. Like literally he just appears and he's like, hello. And we're like, hello. And so I'll get into the rest of the story later, but like literally he just came up to us randomly and inside of their headquarters, and we got to that's not their headquarters, that's their Palo Alto office, the headquarters in Denver, but we got to talk to him. So it was super fun and got to talk to a lot of other people there. It was super crazy. Also NVIDIA, there's the 10-to-1 split today. Also the Apple thing, the freaking Apple WWC DC event is happening. Let me just say real quick, I don't care if the stock pumps today. I don't care if the stock pumps today for Apple. I'm skeptical. You guys know how skeptical I am of Apple. I'm skeptical of Apple. I'm skeptical of this AI shit. I know Bloomberg said they're coming up with AI intelligence. I don't know what I'm skeptical for a lot of reasons, and we'll talk about it. But I can't live stream it because YouTube, like for some reason, Apple is like a communist regime. I think they're spending too much time in China, and they will take down everyone who streams their live stream. We've already done this before, and like they copyright the channel. So like I would live stream it, but like we can't. We literally can't. Like we can't take the risk. So I'll be live tweeting about it today at 1 p.m. But yeah, we'll discuss more. I'm a bit skeptical of some of the stuff they're going to produce, to be honest. I'm really skeptical. So we'll see what happens and we'll keep going. What's his personality like in person? It's literally like his personality on the big screen. Like he is as quirky and as funny and as like cool and as raw and authentic with his words as he is on YouTube when you see him in the keynotes and all this. Like literally there's zero difference. The Yahoo Finance interview that you guys saw with him, he was saying the same stuff to me, right? There's a real key insight he said to me as well that I'll tell you guys when I get into the story, but he's the same guy. And so it was super cool to get a chance to meet with him. All right, so thank you all for being here. We have so much to talk about, dude. We have so much. Raul, what's up? There was a lot of people that reached out on Twitter. June, hello. Basically saying, I'm part of their routine and like, how could I leave them and this and that. And so it was nice to see people really care about the show, really wanted it back. And dude, I missed it just as much as you guys. But let me say, before we finally get into like everything going on in the market, and then we'll just get into pure market open stuff. I did say last week for a good 3 days in a row, starting on Tuesday last week or the week before last week, that I was not going to be able to do the streams for the majority of the week for a good reason. And I just want to know in the chat, was it a good reason? Did you guys think it was a good reason? That's all I want to know in the chat. What was the reason? The reason was I got to host an entire halftime show at Palantir'S AIPCon. I think it was a pretty good reason. I think doing this thing right here, and oh boy, the story I have on this, on preparing for this and making sure this went down correctly and all this stuff. The story I have is you guys are going to die laughing about this story, dude. This is me off no sleep. And the reason we took no sleep is because I really didn't want to fuck this up. Also, when did my name become Amit Sen? Like, is this like some feng shui type of thing? They said, here's Amit Sen from AK Media LLC. I was like, I don't know who Amit Sen is, but this is super fun, dude. So I have a great story about this. I think it was worth it. I think this was, a company putting on a conference, a company that's not as big as Microsoft, NVIDIA, Amazon, etc. But one day they might be. And when those companies host conferences, thousands and thousands of people show up to the conferences. In this case, it was about a couple hundred people. It was very intimate. And it was getting a chance to show off my communication skills, the stuff I do every single day on this live stream, for a different purpose. And that different purpose was to amplify the brand image of Palantir at AIPCon, something that I obviously care about doing, right? Because I'm invested in Palantir. I care about Palantir. I'm beyond emotionally attached to Palantir. Like it's a company that I'm gonna hopefully see out in terms of its vision for the next decade, and we'll see what happens. And I think that doesn't mean I can't be objective on it. I've been pretty damn objective. I've called it overvalued. I would say right now, if it pumps to 27, it's ridiculously overvalued, right? I think the objectivity can stay there, but the ability to collaborate with a company that embraces you being what they see as the voice of the retail community, it's a big deal. And it was super fun, and I think it was worth it. I really do think it was worth it. So let me see what it says in the chat. All right, everyone says it was worth it. Cool. Everyone says, did Cart pay you in shares? Believe it or not, guys, I got paid for none of it. I didn't get paid for my hotel, or actually my Airbnb. I didn't get paid for the flight. I didn't get paid for actually doing this. Like, and to be honest, I understand why. If they had paid for like my hotel or my flight or whatever, it technically would have been a conflict of interest, right? Because they're compensating me, and I'm an investor, and I talk about the stocks, so the company's compensating you. So having said that, I put out this tweet over on Sunday. I don't know if you guys saw this one, but I have spent so much money this week. You talk about betting on yourself, dude. I have spent so much money this week. I spent, now it's not $2,500, as at least $3,000. I spent $3,000 over the past week, not month, not 2 months, past week on my credit card alone. But it was worth it. I think it was worth it. Then I saw Roaring Kitty was down 200 million on Friday. We got to talk about that live stream as well. That was absolute insanity. I was watching it again in the morning, trying to see if I missed anything. And nope, I didn't miss anything. It was a pile of shit. Like the live stream was just absolute garbage, dude. The dude sounded like he had lawyers sitting in front of him with a gun. I mean, the amount of times he said, well, I reserve the right to change my mind. It's like, that was not the Roaring Kitty that I expected. I expected I like the stock. I did not get I like the stock Roaring Kitty. And I understand, but I also think it was a little weird. Granted, I still think he has a plan to figure this out. But I spent like $3,000 on my credit card paying for everything this week. And then Iliano, my good friend, sent me $1 to offset it. And then Chad, we're going to talk about Chad as well today. He sent me $1.01. These guys thought they were funny. But yeah, I didn't get paid for anything. I took the opportunity because I think of it like Andrew Ross Sorkin, right? He's like a sort of CNBC media journalist. He was he curates a ton of panels, right? Whether it's at Davos, whether it was at the AI Expo that I was at in DC, he was curating the panel between Eric Schmidt, Palantir, Karp, General Milley, all this stuff. I think there is a world in which I can moderate panels and really be a good force in terms of bringing voices together at high level events. And I think this Palantir AIPCon was the first rendition of me proving I could do it, which is why I didn't sleep that whole night, because I did not want to mess it up. And there was one moment where I stuttered, and it's been bugging my OCD. I've been listening to the Backstage Pass like 10 times. And that one moment where I stuttered makes me so upset, because it was like within the first 30 seconds. And damn it, I was not trying to stutter on that one thing. So we're going to do an entire breakdown and talk about that. Sam says, no, I was missing you more than my girlfriend. Good. A lot of guys got to spend some time with their girlfriend this week because they didn't get to spend time with me. So it's good that now you are spending time with me. Or it's good that you got to spend time with your girlfriend, but now we're back. Now we are back. 3% back on the Hood card. As much as you guys think I have Vlad's number, I don't have the Robinhood card. He still has not given me the card yet either. So, but people don't, you guys probably missed it, but there were 2 events on May 31st and June 5th where Robinhood's CBO and CFO, the Chief Brokerage Officer, Chief Financial Officer, went to speak. JP Morgan and Piper Sandler. I'm sure some of you guys probably heard about it, but the majority of people don't look at those little events because they're audio streamed. You have to go through these weird links to get them. The things they said at these events, by the way, we get Robinhood numbers tomorrow, June 11th, after the close. I don't know, man. It's, first of all, we hit 23. We hit 23.40 at one point. Now we're at 22. I think like 22.20. The things they said just leads me to believe that Robinhood's not fucking around, dude. And so we're going to talk about that as well later today and keep going from there. But yeah, a lot of interesting stuff happened as well in the context of Robinhood. Amit, you should keep your posture in mind. Don't turn your back to the camera next time. Yeah, definitely. I think my posture as well was not the best. I was a little bit too curved at some point while the other guests were talking. So there's a lot of things I think I can improve on from this like first real public appearance at a corporate event. But I think it all in all went good. Chad's mic fell off as well. That was hilarious, dude. Like his mic just popped out. All in all, I think it went good. Definitely stuff I need to improve on. And in general, I think it can set the way up for, maybe there were some other people watching at other companies and they were like, hey, maybe Amit could do this for us, right? Like, so I think as a test run, it was one of those things that you put in the resume and hopefully it keeps going back. White pants were wild. Okay, first of all, here's the other thing, guys. You know how I say I don't shop at Lululemon. I don't spend hundreds of dollars on clothes. We're at the event, right? We're at the dress rehearsal. And the producer lady is like, you guys need to wear white pants because it offsets the light. And you guys can wear no black shirts, no white shirts. You have to wear like gray or purple or bluish, right? And so I'm like, well, lady, I don't have white pants and I don't have a gray shirt or a blue shirt or a purple shirt. She was like, you got to go buy one. And so me and Chad, we go all the way to Stanford Shopping Center. We go to this store called Untuck It. And I hop into Untuck It and I find the shirts I need. And I was like, how much is the shirt? He's like, $110. I was like, okay. He's like, how much is the pants? He's like, $120. I was like, I'm really about to drop $250 on a fucking shirt and pants. Fuck it, dude. So run up the credit card, dude. This is why we need the 3% cash back. So literally the amount of money I spent this week was ridiculous, but we did what we had to do. We did what we had to do. And we got the job done. Why didn't you go to Sorry? That's funny. That would have been really fun. Okay, so I think let's get started on the market open. Again, at 9:45, I'll get into the entire story of what happened at AIPCon. So stick around until then. I'll be there. I'll answer all the questions, and I'll be there for an hour and just discuss everything. But we also have a market open and everything to discuss. So I want to start off first of all. With welcome to California. Yeah, dude. See, the last thing I'll say, I cannot live in California because, dude, I cannot deal with this 3-hour time difference. Like I cannot deal with the fact that at 7 a.m. it's already 10 a.m. here, and like the market's already been open for 30 minutes. I don't like it. I really don't like it. I don't like it at all. I hate it. Welcome to the Bay. All right, so for you guys are used to California. I don't like California timing. If California didn't have the 3-hour time difference, I would love California. I don't like I really don't like it, dude. It's not. So I think I'm East Coast forever. It's nice to visit, but by the way, the Bay Area was beautiful. It was I used to this Palo Alto area near where everything is at, like downtown Palo Alto. That's where I used to date a girl who went to Stanford, and I used to fly over so many times in college, freshman and sophomore year. So like I all the restaurants that were there, like I went to one of the main restaurants I used to eat at back in 2018, 2019. So it was very nostalgic for me. It's a beautiful area. You know, I visited Stanford again. It was very like it's a great place to be in, right? Just looking around. That's why I got the Stanford hoodie. It's awesome. But it's like the time difference sucks and it's a bit expensive. It's a bit too expensive. So for that reason, I'll probably be staying in New York. Bro's wearing his ex's sweatshirt. No, dude, I bought this for me and I bought one for Arnie as well. It was a gift for Arnie because he came all the way from Italy. So I bought one for both of us. So Arnie, you'll see him in a Stanford hoodie later as well. Okay, so let's get into what's going on with the market open. Let's start off with Tesla. I think I'll start off with that. Again, 9:45, I'll get into everything that happened at California and at AIPCon, but let's get into the actual news. So this to me was heartbreaking, okay? This was legitimately heartbreaking yesterday. I wake up and, this was Saturday. I see that the state of Norwegian pension fund, the Norwegian state pension fund, the guy who literally just did a podcast with Elon Musk, the president of the fund, they did like a Twitter Spaces. They're taking their 33 million shares and they're voting against Elon's $56 billion compensation package. Bernstein put out a report this morning, and Bernstein said that we expect Tesla or Elon to lose the vote. So let me show you this right here. They said Tesla needs 73% of remaining voters to approve, assuming a high 75% turnout, which is above historical max of 63%. The chances of Tesla's proposed re-domestication to Texas being approved are higher, but still uncertain. Bernstein believes if compensation plan is rejected, the diluted share count would decrease by 9%, boosting EPS by 10%, but the stock could drop 5% or more on fears that Musk might leave. I'm still kind of 50-50 on if I think the stock tanks on the fears of Elon leaving. Like if Elon leaves, yeah, the stock's tanking. But if Elon if there's fears Elon leaves, yes, the stock will tank. But I think it'll recover because they'll just come up with a new compensation package, right? I don't think Elon's for sure leaving the company. I still in my heart of hearts don't think he's going to leave the company. But the fact that he's potentially going to lose this vote, it is anti-American. And no one can say, oh, well, it's Norway. It's like they're investing in an American company. So that's why I said it was anti-American. Like you can't benefit off of all the amazing things America brings you and then reject one of the central components of America, which is capitalism, right? Even Karp talked about this in his AIPCon talk. He was like the inability to privately accumulate wealth is not like tangible. It's not something that we should respect on a material level from a values-based perspective in the United States. And I think even Karp said it's discriminatory. You cannot allow people to not have the opportunity to privately accumulate wealth, especially when they fulfill the promises in a contract. Like the contracts are the basis of America, right? Like all of us agree to, in some respects, a social contract to pay our taxes, but also in realistic terms, if you sign a contract, by a court of law, you're supposed to follow through on the contract. The notion of private property exists in this country, and it doesn't exist in a lot of other places. So it's really, really sad to see this happening with Elon. Elon just unfollowed the president of the State Norway Pension Fund, which is one of the richest pension funds in the entire world. I think it's like $300 billion, or maybe it's $3 trillion. I'm getting the number wrong, but it's a lot of money. And them voting against this means, now granted, in 2018, they voted against this as well. They own 1% of all of Tesla, but still, like, in 2018, the company was worth $50 billion. Now it's worth $500 billion. At one point, it was worth $1.1 trillion. They're up 700% on their shares. And so for them to vote against this is just absolutely insane. Z Sama says, Amit, I missed you so much. I was about to shower when your live stream popped up, so now I start the market stinky. Thank you. Thank you, Z Sama, for being here. I appreciate it. Dinosaur Dude, thank you for the $3.99 super sticker. Appreciate you as well. So it is just incredible that Elon is potentially going to lose this vote. Now, Warren Redlick, big guy in the Tesla community, he sold how much of it? He sold 20% of his Tesla shares back in like 2 weeks ago, and everyone made fun of him for selling at 178 because he thought Elon might lose the vote. He's not looking that crazy right now, dude. I mean, like, he's not looking that crazy. Now it looks like people actually think he's going to lose the vote. Now, Elon did say, he made a statement right here. Elon said, yeah, this is not cool. If they being Norway, surveyed their constituents, they would discover overwhelming support in favor. So far, roughly 90% of retail shareholders who have voted in favor of both resolutions. The public sentiment is unequivocally supportive. That doesn't mean 90% of the overall vote is supportive. It just means 90% of retail shareholders are supportive. The institutional side, I don't know if Elon's going to get it, which means that retail has to come through and save Tesla, just like retail saved Palantir at $6. And so it's going to be pretty tough to imagine that the toots go come on his side. So I think a couple of other toots the other day put out a note saying that they're voting no on this. Retail's going to have to save them. Thomas says, I feel like if you voted no in 2018, then it's fair to vote no again. I can understand that logic. My only pushback against that is if you voted no in 2018 and then he executed flawlessly, quite frankly. I mean, whether you like how he did it or like, he did it. You can't say he didn't do it. He got the company from 50 billion to 500 billion. At one point, he got it to 1 trillion. So he 20x the company at one point. Now it's sitting on like a 7-8x, whatever it is. You can't be upset about that. And if you bought in at 2018, you're up a lot. Like if you bought in at 2021, you're down. It sucks. You bought in at the end of 2020, you're down. It sucks. You bought in 2022, it sucks. You bought in 2023, it sucks. Unless you got like the absolute bottom 2023 in January. But if you got in 2018, you're sitting on an amazing return. And the only reason I think you don't vote for this compensation package is because you're pissed off that Elon started a bunch of other things since then, which I understand. I'm sympathetic to the fact that he has X and XAI now, and then the SpaceX and Neuralink, etc. But I don't know if that's a reason to go back on the contract, dude. I really don't. Thomas says, yeah, but obviously you were against how the incentives were set up and how the package was created. Well, see, this is the part that just I think Norway is stupid if they're against how the incentive package was set up. For someone to 10x a stock, like, and be rewarded with 1/10 of the value of that stock, right? 50 to 500 billion, and then they get 50 billion. I don't know how that's unfair. Like what do you want him to get? Did you want him to get a cookie for 10xing the stock? Or like at some point in America, we reward people. Oh, my computer just fell a little bit. At some point in America, we reward people for like actually trying, right? And if we reward people for actually trying, then I think they deserve to continue to be rewarded. And unfortunately, it seems like the state of Norway doesn't feel that he deserves to be rewarded. And not only the state of Norway, a bunch of other institutions that are voting against this. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out. I think he's going to get the retail vote. I don't know if he's going to get the institutional vote. And if he doesn't get the institutional vote, then maybe he doesn't get the retail vote, or maybe the entire vote ends up not going in his favor. So we'll see. But then again, if he doesn't get the retail vote, I still think that he will re-up the package, which means I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. I think they'll say, okay, 45 billion instead of 56 billion. And then if he loses that again, then he goes to 35. Like it will be kind of weird to see how that plays out. If he leaves, then Tesla's screwed. I mean, I don't think. All right, let's end it on this question. Then we'll move on to Robinhood. Does anyone think Tesla can succeed and become the FSD supervision, everything that Elon's talked about, if he leaves? Because I asked this question on Twitter, and some people actually said, "Oh no, this is great. If he leaves, then I'm like, I don't know what you're smoking. Like, We're talking about Tesla. You're talking about key man risk. That this, like, Elon has the key, and like he has the lock, and he has everything. Like when you talk about key man risk, there is no chance in hell Tesla's becoming the. It trades 64 times forward earnings. The average car company trades 5 times forward earnings. The only way Tesla gets to justify trading 64 times forward earnings is if they have the Elon multiple, and the Elon multiple means that they're going to get a premium because he's going to figure out how to do cool shit. Without Elon, I don't know who's figuring out how to do cool shit, dude. I don't know. Google has no Elon and they are doing fine. I don't know if that's the right comparison, bro. Google is not as ambitious as Elon, in my opinion. Google is a search engine, which is cool, and they've been forced to innovate because of ChatGPT. Elon's trying to get people into Mars, dude. Like, I don't see it, dude. I really don't see how someone else brings Tesla to fruition. But I guess the shareholders will have to make the vote. And I guess we'll see what happens. Okay, so I think the far majority of you in the chat are saying, yeah, we got to vote for Elon. Well, I mean, I don't have a ton of shares, but I'm voting gold mine for Elon. If you guys have shares, that's how I would vote. You guys have to make your decision if you have a ton of Tesla shares. I hope it goes through. Just from an American capitalistic perspective, I really hope it goes through, because it would be sad. Like, Western civilization is amazing until it's not amazing. And like all things can end. Just because people choose to not agree with some of the principles and conserve some of the traditional principles that have made this country so great. And to see someone not get paid, I don't know, dude. And you could argue 56 billion, 60 billion, 70, but you could argue on the minutia, but the idea that he doesn't get paid for what he did, I mean, that's just like not American. That's not going to retain the values that make this country so great and make capitalism in general so great. So I hope he gets it through, and we'll see what ends up happening over the coming months. Who gave some gifts? Someone just gave some gifts. Uncle Clay's Orchard. Thank you for gifting 10 memberships. Shout out to Uncle Clay's Orchard. I think this is the first time you've even commented in the chat. You might be someone new here. Thank you, Uncle Clay's. Really appreciate it. So 10 gifts means anyone can be a channel member for like $5 a month, and you get the free month because of Uncle Clay. So thank you, Uncle Clay. Who has an orchard, apparently. I love it. Thank you, Uncle. That's awesome. Thank you for the 10 gifted memberships. Anyone can grab those as soon as you click on it, and then they can grab it. Awesome. Cool. So let's talk about NVIDIA. NVIDIA is split officially. I woke up this morning to see my NVIDIA, which my dollar of NVIDIA up 50%, but still. Right now it's at 119 in the pre-markets. It's down. Can you guys see this right now? Oh, you can't see this. Oh, this is stupid. Okay, so we're going to have to. Here's what we're gonna. Okay, so I know why you can't see this. So we'll figure that out in a second. Let me show the Google part. Until then, we did get the split on NVIDIA. So right now we got NVIDIA that is up year to date a decent amount. Can you see this right here? Yeah, at least you can see this. Okay, it's up 6% in the past 5 days. Year to date, I mean, this is just incredible, dude. NVIDIA is up 150%. It's up 150 freaking percent. And the reason it is up 150% is because AI is not stopping, and the chip demand continues to get higher. NVIDIA is probably going to do 28 to 30 billion in revenue next quarter. The street number is 28 billion. It's probably going to be 30 billion. And the market seems to keep wanting it. Now, if NVIDIA falls below 1,200, I don't think that's crazy. And the reason I don't think that's crazy is because at the end of the day, NVIDIA, I mean, the reason I don't think that's crazy is because NVIDIA, like, it's ran up a lot. I mean, if we look at it in the past month, right here, past 1 month, 34%. This is a company that's now worth 3.01 trillion. 3.01 trillion is a lot for NVIDIA. It's a little bit more than Apple. Or sorry, it's 3.02 trillion. Apple's at 3.01 trillion. Microsoft's the only company that's valued more than NVIDIA. So does NVIDIA deserve to have this premium? Probably. The PE is still only 50. It's not insanely expensive, and the growth is probably going to keep up with it. The only concern I have is that it ran up really quickly from earnings at 119, and seeing it fall below 100, I don't think would be crazy. Now, granted, the options market is going to explode. People are going to be selling covered calls on this thing. People are going to be selling cash secured puts. People are just going to be buying more stock. It seems more affordable now to retail, even though they probably don't know they're buying a company at $3 trillion. They're just buying a stock that's $119. That's happened with Google back in June of 2023 when they split and they went to like $105. Same thing with Amazon. Same thing that's going to happen with Chipotle in a little bit when they get to $50 off 3,000. So I think it's bullish for NVIDIA. I think the question is just going to be how many people are actually going to buy into the fact that now it is officially split up. How much do you think NVIDIA falls in a single day if China invades Taiwan? I mean, forget NVIDIA, dude. If China invades Taiwan, the whole market's gone because that means TSMC is at risk. TSMC is the epicenter of all the artificial intelligence progress that we've made over the past couple of months. And TSMC is really important. So I don't think China is going to invade Taiwan simply because I think they're too smart to mess up everything. But maybe I'm giving them too much credit, but I don't think they're going to invade because I think they still realize at the end of the day that they're going to ruin everything if they invade Taiwan. They're going to get into a full-scale war. And if they do that, it's just going to be a bad thing. Now, granted, maybe China says our only option is to invade Taiwan because we have no other way to achieve what we need to achieve in terms of our national security interests, which means unifying the country, creating a more nationalist identity, and that involves invading Taiwan. But I don't even think the people of China want to invade Taiwan. So at this point, we're going to see how this ends up playing out. But if it happens, we're all screwed. We're all absolutely screwed. Okay, so let me do this right here real quick. Let's see if this happens. So guys, I have to restart this Mac real quick because it's not letting me share Weeble, and I know why. It's because I haven't restarted my computer all day. I'm going to share a video. We'll see if this video plays. If it doesn't, while I restart, then it's going to be like 2 minutes of just pure black. And like, you're going to have to deal with me there with the first day that we're back. I just got to restart this thing. And then Weeble will be back. But because the market's open in 15 minutes, we got to have Weeble so we could like actually look at the charts. So this is a former SEC senior counsel talking about Roaring Kitty. And so we'll see if this can play. And I'm going to reset. If not, I'll be back in like 2 minutes and everything will reset. Okay, cool. All right. I'll be back in 2 minutes.
Now, what regulators may be looking at when it comes to trades and GameStops, we want to bring in Firdos Altai, who served as senior counsel in the enforcement division of the SEC. And Firdos,
All right, and we are back. So this is actually not my fault, guys. I mean, I know everyone wants to think it's my fault. All right, and we are. It's actually it's actually StreamYard's fault. So like when I press present right now and I press share screen and I press Weeble, you see how it's sharing right now? You see how it's sharing? 5 minutes ago, it says browser unable to share. That's not my fault. That's not the computer's fault. That's something wrong with StreamYard. And it does that randomly. And when I reset the computer, it fixes it, but I don't know how to get it to randomly to stop doing that. So I either need to write a strongly worded letter to StreamYard to get them to fix that. But like, that's not even a Mac issue. Like, it really wasn't even my Mac. It's not like my Mac was frozen. It's StreamYard. That like, I know it's not even a bad excuse. I know it's an excuse, but it's like, it is what it is. I can't, like, right here, I couldn't share StreamYard 5 minutes ago. It says browser unavailable to share. I'm like, I don't know why that's happening. Anyway, okay, let's get into this Warren Kitty thing. Let's talk more about that. But 1,100 of you stayed though, so that's like, you guys love me. Okay, all right, here we go.
What regulators may be looking at when it comes to trades and GameStops. We want to bring in Firdos Altai, who served as senior counsel in the enforcement division of the SEC. And Firdos, thank you for being with us today. There were a lot of questions about what he might say on Friday and whether or not that would land him in hot water. From what I saw, didn't seem to be anything that would necessarily be a big red flag for regulators. But what did you think?
Agree. I mean, he's a smart guy. He holds many FINRA regulations. He knows exactly what he's doing. I saw the whole thing as a stream of consciousness. He's not telling people what to do. He's only discussing his personal opinion. That doesn't give regulators a lot of wiggle room with what they want to do.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to label him a market manipulator. He answered questions saying it was just him. He didn't have other people who were in it with him. That would have been something they would have watched very closely. And he certainly seemed to lay out and show what he was holding. I mean, it showed that he would have lost quite a lot of ground just as the stock went down, too.
If anything, what he's doing right now is setting up a perfect defense for market manipulation. He's giving regulators everything that he would use in his defense if they brought up a market manipulation. I think ultimately what they're trying to do is ban him. That's a very high bar for them to reach.
Ban him from ever being able to trade again?
I think so. I mean, that would be the only outcome, right? If he was charged with market manipulation, they would be seeking a lifetime ban. They would try to get him out of the market completely. You see what E-Trade is doing. They're unhappy. However, they're getting the best press they've ever gotten. Their information is on every single thing he posts. So they should be happy right now, in a good position as well.
So, I mean, what she's saying about E-Trade is actually kind of correct. So, I mean, I don't know who has talked about E-Trade in like a decade, dude, other than right now, because we're on Kitty. So let's talk about the stream. Let's talk about what happened in the stream. Let's recap that. And then we got 8 minutes until the market open. Then we'll get into all the good stuff. I know Palantir is down. We got to talk about them. We still have to talk about the Robinhood acquisition. We did Elon, and we'll talk more about NVDA as well once the market opens. So a couple of things Warren Kitty said. First of all, it's really him. I mean, how many people, put in the chat if you're watching the stream, there were 650,000 people that were watching the stream at the same time on Friday morning. And it was pretty crazy. This is him right here. He did this like act where he was acting like he was having a heart attack in the morning, and then he came back to life. And this right here is using Yahoo Finance, looking at GameStop, down 32% on the day. Now, ironically, GameStop was at $65 in the pre-market. And then what did GameStop do? They did a 75 million share offering, which was, it was just absolutely disgusting to see them do that. Why did they release their earnings early? Because they can only do the share offering if they release the earnings as per regulatory framework. So they had to release the earnings. The earnings sucked. They were down 30% year over year. They had a net loss. Now the net loss wasn't as bad as it was last year, but it was still bad. And then they dumped, or they filed to potentially dump 75 million shares. That tanked the stock 30%. And if I was GameStop, which I'm not, but I would have waited till the live stream was done, till the thing probably pumped up to 60, 70 bucks, because it was at $65 at 9 a.m., dude. It had no reason for it to come down. And then boom, it decides to just start tanking. And once it tanks, you know, like, what is Roaring Kitty supposed to do? I mean, when you dump 75 million shares in the market, or have the potential to, the market gets upset. So he says, oh my goodness, I'm alive. What's up, everybody? Then he says, I wanted to show it's me. I'm the one active on my accounts. I spent time making all the memes. I'm not AI. The positions I'm showing are mine. I'm not working with anyone else. Then he ends up showing his position. And right here, we can see in the position, he has officially 120,000 calls on GameStop at June 21st, $20 strike. He has a $5 average on those calls, so he's up 92 million. He was down 163 million that day. And then he has 5 million shares. He bought them at 21 bucks a pop. Price on Friday was 32. So he's up 54 million. So he's up a total of 146 million, but on Friday, he was down 232 million. Now, I talked to a market maker at a wedding that I was at on Saturday. Okay, one of my friends, he works at Susquehanna Group, and I was talking to him, and I was like, yo, how do you think this whole ends? How do you think this thing, how do you think this plays out? And he says he can't sell any of it. He basically says it's kind of like golden handcuffs, right? You're basically stuck with these options, because as soon as you start selling, the market makers know that you're selling. He told me that a lot of the market makers even knew that like it was him accumulating the position. Like they knew there was only one guy who could be buying these many shares or these many call options of GameStop. So the market makers knew a while ago that he was coming back into this, and then he tweeted the picture, and then it all started to make sense. But he can't sell. As soon as he starts selling a substantial amount of the position, the stock's going to tank. So the only way you can really sell and generate massive amounts of liquidity is if GameStop's at like $80, $90, because then you have all the schmucks that are going to be buying it. I'm sorry to say schmucks, but it's just schmucks that are going to be buying it at $70, $80, $90, and that's when he can sell these calls. If it's at 25, 30, if it's barely above the strike price, he's theoretically up, but as soon as you sell, it's going to fall 10, 15%. So that 25, 30 is going to go to $22, then $18, then $14, and then you're not going to have the liquid event you need to be able to generate the capital. And so it doesn't make sense for him to sell if the stock's not decently up. He's not going to be able to exercise the contracts because he doesn't have 240 million liquid to buy the 12 million shares outright. Now, maybe he doesn't want to buy all 12 million shares, but he still needs a decent amount of money to buy enough of them. And the question becomes if he's going to even have the capital to buy any of them if the stock starts falling, because then he's not going to have the gains that he had on his $21 average. This is what he tweeted yesterday. So I believe this is from the Dark Knight. This is in Chicago. And as you can see, cat's out of the bag. And this is downtown Chicago. The CBOE office is the street away from this. So he's basically saying to Wall Street, hey, like, you know, I'm coming, or I've got, you know, I'm not leaving, or I'm holding my bag. You know, there's a lot of different things he's insinuating, but it basically seems like he's not ready to leave without a fight at all. And if he's not ready to leave without a fight, based on what he tweeted yesterday, then I don't know. This is going to get very interesting. We have the market open in 3 minutes. This is going to get very, very interesting to see how this plays out. Ultimately, I think the beneficiary, and I've been saying this for since this happened on May 14th, is this bad boy, Robinhood. Robinhood, $22.25. I think Robinhood is going to benefit the most from everything happening. Do I still think GameStop can pump really hard? Yeah, GameStop right now is up 3.4%. I do think there is a world where this thing gets back to $60, $70, $80. The problem is, the existential problem is now management has said, hey, as soon as it pumps, we're going to sell 75 million shares at the market. And they already sold 45 million shares. That's how they raised the 993 million last May, like literally 3 weeks ago. So if it pumps, it's going to get diluted by 75 million shares. And if I was management, I would have diluted by 75 million shares after the live stream. Let it pump. Let him get people excited. Let people think he's about to become a billionaire if it reaches $69. Ironically, if GameStop hits $69, he was literally going to be worth $1 billion. Like, let that happen before you dump all the bad news. But management got so greedy, they dumped the bad news that quickly on Friday. They literally released their earnings quicker than expected because of this. And they can do it because of how their bylaws are set up, and they don't have to take any earnings calls or any questions. And it just seemed like a blatant disrespect for shareholders. So unfortunately, it seems like Roaring Kitty is betting very heavy on GameStop, even though GameStop doesn't really give a crap about him. One theory I have is that maybe he wants to be on the board of directors, and that's why he's doing all this, to establish a 5 to 7% position. But on the live stream, and let me know what you guys thought in the chat. Market open in 2 minutes. On the live stream, I was not, 30 million additional. Sorry, not 75 million net new shares. Okay, so they did 45 million last time. Now they added another 30 million. So it'd be 75 million in total, not literally 75 million on top of the 45 million last time. On the live stream, I was not impressed. I really wasn't impressed. It just sounded like he kept saying that he has the right to reserve his opinion, and that everyone should have their own due diligence. And like, it's the type of shit like a brand new YouTuber in the finance space would say. Like, I remember in my videos when I started, I was like, guys, it's not financial advice. Like, dude, just shut the fuck up. Like, no one cares. He sounded like that, right? And it's like, dude, like, you know what you're doing. Like, you can say it once and then move on, but you don't have to say it I watched it again this morning, literally for 50 minutes. The amount of times he said, do your own due diligence, don't follow me, this is super risky. It was almost like 30 times. And at some point you're like, oh, he's scared, or he's just really awkward. Something's going on. But it wasn't real fundamental analysis on GameStop. The extent of what he said was, I trust Ryan Cohen. And I'm like, I don't know if that's the best analysis here, but that's what ended up happening. 9:30 a.m. We got a lot to talk about for the rest of the market open. Thank you, everybody, to being here. The cowbell is back. The market is now open. Wake your ass up. It has been so long since we did the cowbell. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We are back in action. Let's see what we've got going on. GameStop, $28.70, up 1.4% on the day. Robinhood, $22.28, up 0.45% on the day. NVIDIA has officially split 10-1. The stock was $1,200 on Friday. Today, it is $120 on the day. Absolutely incredible to see the split is successful. The split has run up 34% since earnings. So obviously the market has rewarded NVIDIA for what they've been able to do. And it seems like people are ready to buy. It's down 0.5% on the day, but the fact that it's holding 120 is just absolutely exceptional. So that's what we got right now on NVIDIA. UiPath, $12 flat on the day. I didn't get enough time to really do research on this, but I read a couple of articles. I wouldn't say it's like in-depth research. I am not impressed, dude. Robotic processing automation is not super exciting to me. Do I think it'll pump because it's sold off so much? Yeah, I think it'll probably pump. Am I super excited about it? No. I'd honestly rather buy more Palantir. Palantir right here, $22.78, down 2.7% of the day. We'll talk a lot about Palantir at 9:45. I'll get into everything from AIPCon. Lots of more stuff to add to the investment thesis. I think if I had extra dollars, I don't know if I would put it into Path. Path kind of does the same thing as Palantir on a very small scale from a digital twin perspective, which is what an RPA system is supposed to do, but it's not an ontology. It's not what Palantir has really created. So not super excited about Path. Do I think it can pump? Yes. Do I think it's super exciting and interesting? No. So we'll talk more about Path later, but elementary research, not really interested in getting a position into Path. ARC 4360, gold is up a little bit today. We got 212, S&P 500 532, that's down a little bit. CMG 3169, that's going to split in a couple of weeks. Alibaba 78, TSM is down 162, ARM 133, Ulta 379, ELF. Wow, ELF was at 198 last time I saw it. Now ELF's at 176. Interesting. ELF is down. Robinhood 2254, up 1.71% on the day. Now 2258, not bad for Robinhood. Shopify has been green for the past 15 days. So if you bought the Shopify dip at around 52-ish or 54-ish, you're doing well. Now it's at 6170, not bad on Shopify. Costco 848. Costco's up 27% year to date. I didn't realize that. Costco was up, and Costco's having a great year. Enphase at 124. Enphase holding below 130, but above 120, which is nice to see. CrowdStrike. By the way, S&P 500 inclusion. We didn't talk about that. Palantir didn't get in. Unfortunately, it was CrowdStrike, and congrats to CrowdStrike shareholders. That's why the stock is up 8% right now, because they got into the S&P 500 on Friday. And GoDaddy, I did not know GoDaddy was even public. The only time I ever heard GoDaddy was in the bedroom, but I didn't know that GoDaddy was a thing. But apparently it's a thing. So GoDaddy is public, and like they have had flat revenue growth for 2 years, but for some reason the S&P is like, oh, domain hosting company, let's put it into the S&P 500. So they got in. And then KKR, which is an investment firm. I don't know if you guys know about this one, but it's worth $92 billion, investment firm. I mean, they're a popular company, but for them to be in the S&P 500, I didn't expect that. So KKR, GoDaddy, and CrowdStrike got into the S&P 500. That's why CrowdStrike's pumping. Also, CrowdStrike had a great earnings, so that was really good for their cybersecurity companies in general. But outside of that, nothing on Palantir. And we'll talk more about thoughts on Palantir and S&P 500 inclusion. Microsoft here at 425, Lululemon at 318, SMLR. This thing is up 10%. The reason this thing is up 10% is because they bought some Bitcoin. And I think they bought $40 million worth of Bitcoin. Market cap's only $244 million. So as Bitcoin goes up, their market cap is going up. They're basically pulling a little bit of a micro strategy. And that's what's giving them some more benefits. So that's why that one is up 9%. It's up 40% for the month. What else do we have that's green? Pretty much everything is red. Robinhood is green, 2241. Palantir is red. Let's look at the Mag 7. Microsoft's green. Apple. Oh, I have a lot to say about Apple. So we'll talk about Apple in a little bit. And we'll go to Apple. Did you guys catch the joke? You got the joke? Okay, good. I see you guys got the joke. See? Were you missing some of the jokes? Because I was missing making the jokes, okay? I was missing making the jokes. I was saying the jokes in my head, and there was no one to laugh at them. That's not that different on the stream. But still, I was saying all these jokes in my head. I was in all the... Dude, the amount of money I spent on Uber. Where's Uber stock? Because I'm thinking of fucking buying Ubers. The amount of money I spent on Uber. Uber's at $69. Uber for the past month, 62 to 69. Goodness gracious, dude. The amount of money I spent on Uber. It's like... And I was saying all these jokes in my head in the Uber, but there was no one to laugh at them. Uber, 145 billion. We got to look at Uber, guys. We got to look at Uber. I know everyone thinks Tesla's going to kill them, dude. I don't even know if Tesla's going to have a CEO in a couple of weeks, to be honest. So we got to really think about Uber a little bit more. It doesn't look like Uber is going anywhere. Okay, so that's what we got on Uber. We got Foot Locker's down a little bit. Best Buy's down a little bit. Oh, the May retail sales came out, and the May retail sales we're pretty damn good. It seems like consumers are spending a lot. On top of that, we got the job numbers. I know we didn't get to talk about it on Friday because there was no stream, but one of the reasons the S&P is down right now is because apparently the unemployment rate is 4%. So it went up from 3.9 to 4. That's good, right? That's good. But the problem with it being up 4% is that we added like 400,000 jobs, which makes no freaking sense. How are we adding, or we revised the number of jobs we're at, which is like not leading anyone to trust the jobs report anymore. 8 million jobs open in the JOLTS report. We added like 400,000 jobs. Unemployment's at 4%. So the market's kind of just like, well, are we adding more jobs or are we losing more jobs? And if we're adding more jobs, then maybe inflation is going to be stickier, and that means we can't cut rates. But if we're losing jobs, we have a path to cutting rates. And I think the market's kind of confused about that right now. We have CPI this week. We have PPI this week. And we have FOMC this week. So we have a lot of shit this week on top of WWDC today to kind of figure out where the market is going and what's ultimately going to happen. Lyft is a better buy. So I used Lyft a couple times as well because they were a little bit cheaper. Lyft has pumped this year, but I don't know if Lyft is the pseudo monopoly that Uber is in terms of its distribution. On top of that, Lyft and Uber both were serving me ads. I got an ad for Bank of America and Dunkin' Donuts inside of my Lyft and Uber app. I think it's genius. Like seeing those ads in front of me while I'm waiting for my Uber, I think literally genius, dude. Like I'm looking at the Uber app anyway, and then I see an ad. It's like, I mean, if you're just a company that wants to, keep your brand inside of consumers' minds, even if you don't need them to convert and like check out something. Yeah, if you're a Bank of America, like just getting a little bit more brand recognition, I think it's a genius idea. So I think the advertising business on those two are incredible. The problem is valuation. I don't know if Uber is cheap or not, and Lyft. So I don't know. Maybe we kind of missed the boat on this. I don't know. Now, if you're buying it for 10 years, maybe it's not cheap, but I don't know if I want to hold Uber for 10 years. So we'll dive into Uber's financials as well over the next week and keep going from there. Where is Snowflake? So this bad boy, wow. Oh my God. We're in the 120s on Snowflake. Holy crap, dude. Oh my goodness. 127 on Snowflake. Where's Celsius? Celsius is down as well. Is Celsius down? Celsius. Wow. Celsius down 5%. Snowflake and Celsius are not having a good month. I mean, Snowflake now, I have some things to say about Snowflake. After coming from that Palantir event, dude, anyone buying Snowflake is fucking stupid. I'm sorry. I got to put that out there. After coming from that Palantir event, if you buy Snowflake, I just don't think you understand what's going on in tech. Snowflake is down 32% year to date. Over the past 6 months, it's down 34%. This is not just the dip, bro. The dip was at 150 because it fell from 230. Then the dip was at 140. Then people said the dip was at 130. Is this the dip now? Is this 126 the dip? I don't think this is the dip. I think this is a company that has fundamentally failed to tell Wall Street what their story is. And so I have a lot of thoughts to say on it later, but the TLDR is Snowflake does not have an ontology. And I know we've heard the word ontology many times. This weekend was the weekend, 2282 right now on Palantir, where I finally understood what an ontology is, because I talked to like 70 different Palantir employees, and I'll share my insights on them later when I start talking about it for like the next hour. But that ontology, guys, that thing that we have like 5,000 patents on in the context of Palantir, if you look up Palantir's patents, all of them are related to the ontology. That is something that is not replicatable. And Snowflake doesn't have that shit. And the smartest people in the world are telling me that Snowflake is a data lakehouse. It is not an ontological structure of your data, which is the only thing that matters. And that's what Karp was saying in that Yahoo Finance interview when it came to LLMs operationalizing ontologies. So I really don't think Snowflake has a moat. Maybe I'm wrong about this. Is it oversold? Yeah. Does it pump back to 150? Probably. I'll say that right now. It probably pumps back to 150, probably pumps back to 170. But the opportunity cost of having your money in this no-name AI data lakehouse is that's not growing as much as it was before when it went public. It's a little bit too intense to me. So I think the thesis on Snowflake really has to be looked at again if you're long Snowflake. And there's a reason Palantir is up 30% year to date. Okay, so for everyone trying to do the comparison, there is no comparison. Palantir's up, Snowflake's down. For the past 5 years, Snowflake's down, Palantir's up. It's just that simple. And so at the end of the day, I think there's a clear winner here. And, we'll see how the thesis revolves. Palantir trying to get back to $23 right now. But right now, I think the market is not convinced Snowflake has an AI moat. And if they convince them, then maybe the market will get excited. Now, apparently Celsius is killing people. That's the issue with Celsius right now. I was at a 7-Eleven with one of my boys in Virginia, and we looked at Celsius. We looked at the caffeine on Celsius. it is absurdly higher than Red Bull or Monster. And I think that's starting to come to fruition, which is that people are realizing, wait a second, we can't be drinking this much caffeine. There's just like, this is not possible. Now, granted, I could be wrong about that. And maybe the science, I'm totally wrong. And like the caffeine's not an issue, but I think that's what the market's struggling with in terms of the PR. And maybe it's just PR. Maybe it's not an actual health thing, but at least I'm reporting what I'm hearing in the news, which is that the caffeine is too much and people's livers are like in their whatever inside of their body is just like acting up. Second of all is the same store sales. The Nielsen report says that Celsius is down almost 30%. And so maybe it's getting a little too saturated. I don't really know exactly what's going on in these stores, why Celsius is not selling, but it's not selling as much. And that's why you're seeing the stock fall off a little bit, down 6%. Robinhood right here, 22.55, up 1.67%. We'll talk about that Bitstamps acquisition in just a sec. By the way, Vlad was on CNBC. I don't know if you guys caught that last week. We can listen to him a little bit talk about it as well. SoFi, still below $7. I don't know what's happening with SoFi either. I think at this point, SoFi is becoming a company that Wall Street's just having fun with in terms of the manipulation on it. And they're not letting it trade above a price to book that is above 1.5, which already you could be arguing is a premium for SoFi. So the argument I'm hearing from the SoFi bulls, as I read through their comments, is that the growth of SoFi justifies a higher price to book, even if it's a bank. I don't know if that's true. And maybe I'm not smart enough to understand this, but I don't know if even if you're growing at 20% year over year, what SoFi is not growing at, there's like 16% this year, right? So it's deaccelerated this year. If you deserve a higher price to book just because you're growing more than JP Morgan at 8% year over year, CrowdStrike at 8% right now on the day. And so that's why I think Snowflake is struggling, or not Snowflake, SoFi. The growth might be there. The price to book keeps it relegated to a price to book of a bank. And as a result of that, I don't know the justification for why it deserves to get a higher price to book because it's a bank. Because if it's not a bank, maybe it gets a higher price to book, but it hasn't justified that it's more than a bank. I mean, I remember I made that comment a year ago on someone's post. I said it's just a bank, and I got made fun of a lot. But I think we've come to the conclusion, dude, it's just a bank. It's definitely not a brokerage. They don't even have level 1 options. Like it's not exciting to use. So it's not a brokerage. I mean, it is a brokerage, but it's not a brokerage, like not an exciting brokerage. And then the fintech part of it is just not growing that much. So I think as a bank right now, that's why it's struggling. And until Anthony Noto changes that narrative or announces some big fintech deals, it's going to be struggling a little bit. HIMS right here at 21. HIMS has done a great job holding this level. The GLP market apparently is phenomenal for HIMS, and that's led to a lot of growth in terms of the overall market. I think one of the firms, whether it was Bernstein or Goldman Sachs, they said that the GLP Ozempic market is going to be worth like 140 billion or something in the next 5 years. HIMS looks like they're going to have a proprietary out-of-the-box subscription that's really cheaper than a lot of the other companies out there. Eli Lilly has benefited a lot from this. And so that's why Eli Lilly, wow, 855, they're benefiting a lot from this. And so is HIMS. And that's why they've been really strong as well. They do have level 1 options. They don't have level 2 or level 3. Someone told me they don't have level 1 options. Am I reading that wrong? Level 1 options on SoFi. Is that what I'm... I thought so. No, they don't have level 1 options, dude. I think you're wrong, Chris. They don't have level 1 options. Yeah. I'm literally looking at, I'm looking at Josh, who's like one of the biggest SoFi bulls ever. And look at this. He says there's no level 1 options. It's level 1. There's no level 1 options. That's the issue. And then SoFi said, so Josh messaged SoFi. If you don't know Josh, I think he has like 150,000 shares of SoFi. He said, when is level 1 options going to happen? And that, which I assume means covered calls, cash secured puts, etc. And SoFi said, stay tuned in the coming weeks. We're going to roll it out. This was in February. It's not been rolled out yet. It's not been rolled out. So I think that's the problem with SoFi, dude. I think the price to book of being a bank and having zero catalyst is what's holding it back at the end of the day. And that's kind of been the issue when it comes to SoFi. Level 1 options are just calls and puts. Actually, you're correct. Damn, you can't do calls and puts on SoFi. There's no way you can't do calls and puts on SoFi. If that's the case, dude, that's bad, dude. Robinhood right here, 22.55. UiPath at $12. Eli Lilly, 8.55. Someone let me know in the chat if you use SoFi. Can you do basic calls and puts on SoFi? Level 1 options. So I think you can do calls and puts, but I think you can't sell covered calls and sell cash secured puts. So that's the issue. So they have calls and puts, but level 1 means selling calls and puts, and I think that's what you're not allowed to do. So that's probably the issue with SoFi. But regardless, the fact that you can't sell calls and puts, dude, I think it's tough, man. It's really tough to get the market excited. And I think one thing the SoFi bulls don't understand is that if your product sucks, no one's going to want to use it. And unfortunately, the product is just not that good on SoFi, right? And then just this the reality of it. And by the way, I'm holding SoFi. You guys know I have my sister's options. If SoFi goes to $12, I get to hand her $30,000. And now at this point, I'm waiting for a pump to like $8 to at least give her like $8,000 or $9,000, because at this point, I don't know if SoFi gets to 12. The only bull case is that we cut rates and there's more liquidity in the system, which is good for lending. But I don't know if that's even going to happen or if that's going to help SoFi at the end of the day. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see how this ends up playing out. Yeah, you can't sell calls or puts. That's the problem on SoFi. Yeah. Okay, where's Snowflake right now? Is Snowflake still tanking? Wow, it's tanking even more. By the way, the other thing that's tanking, NVIDIA's down 1%, but also GameStop's down 5%. Maybe GameStop is selling those extra 30 million shares right now at $30. I mean, if I was GameStop, it would be smart to sell them at $27, because that's already a ridiculous valuation for GameStop. So if I was GameStop management, I'd probably be dumping those shares right now in the market, trying to raise some capital. Now, if they sell these shares, let's just say they sell them, if they sell all 30 million at $20, like conservatively, they're going to raise $600-700 million. They will have close to $3 billion in the bank. I think Ryan Cohen can do some damage with $3 billion. The problem is no one knows what the hell he's trying to do. And if he ends up doing something with the $3 billion, then maybe, it gets exciting. I think, you guys know what I think. I think he should buy Bitcoin. I think if he buys Bitcoin, he solves a ton of his problems, or at least gets in the role of getting people excited. But I don't know. I don't know if he's going to do that. It is sad, though. It was really sad to see them do that on the day of the live stream. Like, everyone was so excited for the live stream. Everyone wanted to see the stock go to like $70. And then earnings, they dump the shares. And then you get Roaring Kitty acting like he has a gun to his head with a lawyer. And it's just tough for him to navigate that, right? I felt bad for him, dude. I really felt bad. I thought he was going to come out on top on this. But it sucked to see it. So ultimately, management decided to do what they had to do. And if they end up raising the money, maybe it's a good thing for GameStop at the end of the day. Is Cohen pro Bitcoin? Dude, whether he's pro Bitcoin or not pro Bitcoin, unless they have a game plan to use that $3 billion effectively, they need to attach the stock to something. I mean, SMLR, for goodness sakes, $300 million medical tech company decided to buy Bitcoin. They're up 15%. Like, you're telling me GameStop's not going to pump 20-30% if they buy $100 million of Bitcoin, $200 million? Like, yeah, they're gonna. I think it's a no-brainer, dude. So I actually think it's gonna happen. I mean, maybe I'm wrong because they haven't really done anything in 3 years, and I don't really expect them to do anything. But if it does happen, I think it would be a good idea. Shopify 61, Costco 846. Okay, let's talk about Robinhood. So let's talk about the Bitstamp acquisition. So this news was crazy. Okay, so I was awake all night. Okay, I was awake all night going into Friday morning. And so Thursday morning, going into the Palantir AIPCon backstage pass, right? I'm rehearsing my lines. I'll get into that story later, but I'm like up all morning. And I basically at like 4:30 a.m. Pacific, which is 7:30 Eastern, I get a text from Adam, my boy Adam Bergman. Adam and me have been following Robinhood for a while, and he starts texting me these details about this company they acquired. And in my head, I'm like, we acquired a company? What are you talking about? And so then I go on Twitter, and this is what I see. I see Robinhood has entered into an agreement to spend $200 million, which is literally nothing, dude. $200 million is absolutely nothing to buy Bitstamps. We'll talk about Tesla in a second as well. Where's Tesla? By the way? Tesla's at 178. Okay, so Tesla's up about 0.5%. Robinhood's buying Bitstamps. And so when I saw this, my initial reaction was, oh my God, Vlad is not messing around, dude. Vlad is not messing around. Like, he's actually going for the jugular. He's like going to beat everybody. Buying a crypto exchange means that Robinhood is officially going to become a global crypto player. Now, Bitstamps is one of the oldest crypto companies, 2011. They have 4 million active users. They have 50 active licenses around the world. And essentially, imagine all of those brokerages becoming Robinhood brokerages overnight. Now, this is probably going to take, I would say, conservatively or optimistically, a year for this to play out. But the acquisition will close in early 2025. And usually when a company does an acquisition, the stock goes down because your money is leaving the balance sheet to acquire a company. In this case, Robinhood went up 7% because the market was like, holy crap, if they buy a crypto exchange, their crypto volumes are already through the roof. This is just going to explode those crypto volumes from an institutional side even more. and that's going to be really exciting. The CEO of Bitstamp says, as the world's longest running cryptocurrency exchange, Bitstamp is known as one of the most trusted and transparent crypto platforms worldwide. Bringing Bitstamp's platform and expertise into Robinhood's ecosystem will give users an enhanced trading experience with continuing commitment to compliance, security, and customer centricity. So to me, I think this was really strategic. I think Robinhood is just like absolutely crushing it. They bought X1 for $100 million. Nothing. It's pennies. It is absolute pennies. $100 million for what is the gold credit card? And they got that deal because SVB collapsed. And so, you know, X1 was looking for an exit and they needed a good buyer and they got Robinhood. Robinhood 2261. And then this Bitstamp thing, I don't think they're necessarily like at risk of like going bankrupt or anything, or their business is not doing that well, but they probably realize, look, Coinbase and Robinhood are taking up the majority of the crypto trading volumes from the institutional and the consumer side. $200 million is not a horrible exit. Let's join a really good company. And they partnered with Robinhood, or they decided to get acquired by Robinhood. So somehow Vlad finesses in $300 million X1, which is going to be an amazing credit card by what we're looking at in terms of the user adoption, cashback, etc. And then a cryptocurrency exchange that has 50 licenses worldwide. So I think that's super exciting for Robinhood. I think it's going to be beneficial for them. I think they're gonna make a ton of different waves in the crypto space, and the market's excited because they're like, hey, if Robinhood's already doing $46 billion of cryptocurrency trading volumes, what happens in a year and a half when across the world institutions are now using Robinhood crypto in Europe and Asia and Japan and all these different places because of the acquisition of Bitstamp? I think that's only going to increase their validity further, and that's going to solidify that even in a bear market for crypto, Robinhood still has excessive trading volumes because it's not just based on retail. It's on institutions that are starting to use it as well. SMLR at 36, Tesla at 177. So I ultimately think that's a really good deal for Robinhood, and I think they're going to get a bunch of benefits from that as well. Bitstamp is great for Robinhood UK and the EU expansion, 100%. That's great for EU expansion as well. Bitstamp's licenses are more important for Hood's portfolio, 1000%. Dude, 50 licenses worldwide for $200 million. So they basically paid $4 million per license, and Robinhood still has $5 billion in cash. I mean, dude, like, you talk about it. I did not expect that, dude. I woke up and I'm reading this. I called Adam immediately. I was like, yo, why do you think he did this? And Adam started telling me, dude, the licenses. He's like, it's really hard to get a crypto license. They just bought 50 of them for pennies. And if there's 4 million users, they basically paid $50 a user, which is nothing, dude. It's absolutely nothing. And then if they bring the Robinhood experience, you know, they should be able to attract more. Path right now up 1.75%, 1221, Robinhood 2271. So I think Robinhood is just crushing it from all sectors. They're doing what they have to do. The May numbers are going to be out tomorrow after the bell. When we see those numbers, I think those numbers are going to be kind of ridiculous. Remember, Robinhood peaked at number 80 on the App Store back in May 14th, May 15th, when the whole Roaring Kitty meme was tweeted. And so I think the numbers are going to be decent. And the crypto volumes, I think, are also going to be good because Bitcoin went to 71,000 in May as well. GameStop right now down 3%. Uber's down 1%. NVIDIA's down 2.8%. So if NVIDIA falls to 100, I don't think any of us can be surprised. I think, dude, it ran up really quick. I think a little correction to the hundreds is not crazy. Now, do I think that's going to happen? Probably not. I don't think it falls all the way down to 100. But if it does, it's not insane at all. I really don't think it's that crazy. Volume right now in NVIDIA, 57 million shares have been traded so far. I think that's above the average volume when it was at 1,000 per share or something. So I think that volume already is up a decent amount. But I think that's reasonable if it falls down. But 117, the fact that it's even at 117, 2.89 trillion, I mean, it's just insane. It's just absolutely incredible. So the split is done. And now if you want NVIDIA shares, it's only $117 to buy them. Why are Robinhood numbers tomorrow, not on the 15th? You know, that's a good question. One of the reasons might be because the 15th is a Saturday. So they probably decided to do it earlier. But another reason might be because they like the numbers and they want to put it out a little early. So I was actually confused why the numbers are early. Usually it comes out on the like second Thursday of the month, but they pushed it up early. Okay, so two last things on Robinhood, and then I'll move on from that. So I listened to Steve Quirk, who's the chief brokerage officer on the Piper Sandler conference, and two things you guys probably didn't see from this. He said, remember when they cut their margin rates and everyone was said, oh, you know, Robinhood's going to lose market share because, or not lose market share, but they're going to lose interest revenue because there's not going to be as many people paying as much interest, right? Robinhood's interest rates were 12%, then they went down to 6%. Well, he said the margin adoption on Robinhood is up 10% in 10 days. So basically what that means is the volume of people adopting margin, meaning like people taking out more money on margin. 75% of that was existing users, 25% of that were new accounts that came to the platform. That was up 10% in 10 days since they announced the decision, which means they are making up the volumes from the actual breadth of the trading, or the net interest revenues from the volumes. And why is that good? That's good because if more people are using it, that means ultimately you're going to make more net interest revenue, but also you're providing a better experience to your users because your users are getting really cheap money, the cheapest money in the market. Charles Schwab charges you 13%, Fidelity charges you 14% or 12%, whatever it is. Robinhood is charging you 6.75. So I think that's a really good thing for user experience, and that's going to be really good to increase their net interest revenues. Second of all, the guy at the Piper Sandler conference says, hey, well, what's going on with gold subscribers? Like are gold subscribers going up or not? And Steve Quirk starts smiling, you can tell, and he starts laughing. He's like, oh, we've got a new number on that. And then he looks to his lawyer. He's like, John, can I tell them? and he's like, I think John will kill me if I tell you. And the Piper Sandler guy is like, no, please feel free to tell us, right? He's like joking with him because he knows he can't. So like that's a confidential metric. You can't say it. But Steve's like, I would really love to tell you because we've got a new number on that. And so that exchange right there leads me to believe, holy shit, they probably crushed the gold numbers as well. And so if they crush the gold numbers, I mean, dude, they are gonna they are gonna have, I think, a phenomenal Q2 as well. And the Piper Sandler guy did say, well, it's above 1.7 million, right? Because it's the last reported number. And Steve was like, yeah, it's above 1.7 million. And I'm listening to this while I'm waiting for the Uber because we were going to get dinner that day. And I'm listening to this and I'm like, holy shit. Arnie was there. I was like, Arnie, these guys are. I was with Arnie at the Airbnb. I was like, this is gonna be wild. So I think that's going to be pretty good. Chris says margin is bad. It encourages risk taking. So one thing I will say about margin, this is one of the bear cases people have about Robinhood giving out too much loans and margin. One of the reasons Robinhood is acting like a bank without being a bank is because they're giving out loans, right? You can get a 6.5% margin loan from Robinhood. You can even take that money out of your brokerage and literally spend it on like a house or something if you wanted to, right? You just have to pay it back. The beautiful thing is, unlike a regular loan that like a SoFi or Bank of America gives out, Robinhood has something called, I mean, not Robinhood, in general, you can get margin called, right? You have to collateralize your loan. And so like in general, like if Bank of America gives you a loan and they have nothing to collateralize it, or SoFi or whatever, and you don't pay back the loan, you get delinquencies, right? You get defaults. Robinhood's only going to give you the amount of money they know they can afford to lose because they can buy your stock. So for example, if they give you $35,000 of stock, right? Or sorry, $35,000 in margin, you have to have, I don't know the exact numbers, but I would imagine you need to have $150,000, $200,000 in your account. And that money cannot all be in GameStop, right? Because there are certain maintenance requirements on your margin. If it's all in Apple stock, Apple's a blue chip. Robinhood knows, Apple's going to be around for a while. GameStop, they don't know if it's going to be around for a while. So the maintenance requirement on that Apple stock you have could be significantly less than what they're giving you to borrow. But if you can't pay back that $30,000 and you can't pay back the interest on that $30,000, they just sell your Apple. And they get their money back. So even though they're encouraging people to use margin, and they're not like literally encouraging you, they're just saying, hey, this is the free market. We offer the best, return on your money if you want to use our margin rates, and then you can make an educated decision. The only way you get to access that is if they deem that you can pay the money back. And if you can't pay the money back, they sell your stock, which means they don't really lose the $35,000 they give you if you can't pay the $35,000 back, because they sell $35,000 of your Apple stock or your Palantir stock or whatever it may be. So I actually think it's genius because they're telling people, hey, we're giving you even better rates, which is leading to more net deposits because people are leaving Schwab and Fidelity. The amount of messages I saw saying, fuck it, this is the last straw, I'm out. Like, if you're going to give me 6% to borrow, $50,000, $100,000, like, yes, I'm leaving. And then if you can't pay it back, Robinhood is not on the hook like a regular bank is because they can just sell your stock. So not the worst thing in the world, and makes a lot of sense for Robinhood as well. Okay, last couple things, then I'll get into the whole Palantir event, and I'll tell everything and about my experiences. Dell at 130, AMD at 161, Arc Innovation at 43, Baba 79, TSM 164, and Phase 125. Wow, CrowdStrike. I mean, CrowdStrike also had a great earnings. I think they increased their guidance. If you're in CrowdStrike, shout out to you. Do I think it's overvalued? Yes. Is this one of those premier companies that's always going to be overvalued? Probably. And it is what it is. Now it's in the S&P 500, so it's going to get even more of a premium. Snowflake down 2%. So it is what it is when it comes to CrowdStrike. Where's CRM? Salesforce. Salesforce is down a little bit. So Salesforce recovered from 212, but it's still down from 270. So Still down after earnings, not down as bad, but it is still down. Randy Kame says, would anyone here continue to hold or buy Snowflake and CRM? Does anyone feel that AI is exposing their inability to bring value in return for their customers investing with them in AI, unlike Palantir? So I'll talk more about that when I get into the whole Palantir discussion, which will start in like 2 minutes. But I think ultimately, I am afraid to say that Snowflake and CRM are just like uninvestable, because I think they're ridiculously oversold and they probably will bounce, especially when we get a rate cut, just like everything will bounce. But my thesis boils down to, if you're in it for a bounce, then be my guest. If you're in it for the next 10 years, I just don't know, dude. I really just don't know. And it's kind of scary. I cannot sleep well at night with a big Snowflake position, in my opinion. And I think this is not me being a biased Palantir shareholder here, right? Like this is me sort of being objective. They lose their CEO. They announce an Arctic LLM model, which is a commodity. Don't let anyone tell you that their LLM model is somehow revolutionary. Anyone who says that is eating a pile of horseshit. They have no idea what they're talking about. Releasing an LLM just releases another commodity into the ecosystem. That's another big thing I learned this week about LLMs. And by the way, I was speaking not to bias Palantir employees, but some of the smartest people on the freaking planet telling me what is an LLM and what is an ontology. Snowflake doing this Hail Mary Arctic LLM is not going to increase the institutional adoption of their platform. And I think they think it is, and the market thinks it's not. And we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the growth goes 40% next quarter because the Arctic LLM is being the most used. But their margins are going down because they're spending more on GPU costs. And they're a software company that Snowflake is supposed to be the epitome of Cathie Wood's thesis, which is that AI infrastructure will move from hardware and from semiconductors to the third order derivative software companies. And what are they doing spending on the AI hardware and infrastructure that NVIDIA or that the hyperscalers have all the money in the world to spend on? What is Snowflake doing there? I don't know. I don't think it makes any sense. I think it makes no sense at all. So from that perspective, as an investment, I don't get it. As a bounce to 150, sure. As an investment, I don't think they have a moat. And maybe I'm just not understanding it correctly, but I think I can clearly articulate what Palantir's moat is in the world of AI over the next decade. I can't do that for Snowflake. And I think the market can't do that either. There's no other reason why I can see they're down. Now, another thing that happened about Snowflake over the weekend is they had a security breach. And it was a pretty bad security breach. This was right before their event. By the way, did you guys even know Snowflake had an event? Did you guys even know they announced a partnership with NVIDIA? This, to me, is another red flag. Why are these guys sucking off Jensen Huang like there's no tomorrow? Because at some point, dude, like the girl doesn't want you. And like you can take as many pictures as you want with the girl, but they don't really care. They just don't care. And so they had all these press releases over. I'm pretty sure you guys didn't even know they had an event. And that's because no one on Twitter was talking about their event, unlike AIPCon. There's a reason Palantir called me out to California, right? To get some buzz, to get people like talking, like to make people care and to get some excitement. No one cared about Snowflake, dude. Like no one gave a fuck. And at the end of the day, if you don't have people giving a fuck, it's going to be hard for the market to care. Snowflake and NVIDIA power customized AI applications for customers and partners. No one cares. Like how, like, dude, like NVIDIA, like everything Jensen he's touching literal women's titties. Are you telling me he can't touch Snowflake and make it go up 2%? Like, are you serious right now? Like, so I think that the market is basically given up for the foreseeable future on what this company is trying to tell them about AI. Look at how many times, if I command F LLM, I have 6 different LLMs here. Why does this matter? Like what is the point of this, right? And I just don't think they proved it yet. And the growth is going to have to prove it, but I don't think the growth is proving it yet. And until the growth proves it, it's going to be tough to see what's happening with Snowflake. Chris says, admit you live in your own head. I disagree. So far, the thesis on Snowflake has been gut-wrenchingly horrible over the past 5 years. The thesis year to date has been absolutely disgusting. And I don't think they have a moat that is reasonable when it comes to AI. And also this whole sandbagging thing, they sandbagged, they had earnings, and it seems like the sand went back into the bag. So if someone can articulate to me why they're spending money on creating a new large language model, because no one on the planet, including some of the Palantir employees I talked to, so what is Snowflake doing here? They were like, bro, I don't fucking know. And the reason they don't know is because no one knows why they're doing this. If someone can articulate that to me, I have open ears. And if someone can also articulate to me when they're going to be gap profitable and when their growth is going to start reaccelerating, that would also be nice. Because for Palantir, they are gap profitable and their growth is accelerating. Now, Palantir's growth is not 35%, it's at 21%, but if that accelerates to 25%, then you're looking at a trailing 12 months of around 22% for Palantir, maybe 23%, 24% for Snowflake, which is not going to be that different. One's going to have an AI moat, one's not going to have an AI moat. And so we're going to see. We're going to see how that plays out. Amid Snowflake and Palantir can both win. I don't know why you look at it as one versus the other. They're very different businesses. So they are different businesses. The only reason I compare them, outside of it being super fun, is that the valuation is kind of similar, right? So Snowflake right now, Palantir above 23. Let's freaking go. Palantir at 51 billion, Snowflake at 43 billion. For the longest amount of time, Snowflake was at like 58 billion and Palantir was at like 44 billion, right? And they're both SaaS players in the data space. And so, you know, a lot of Palantir investors just felt kind of like, this doesn't make sense. Why is there an overvaluation here versus there? And so that's the real reason I compare them, right? I think there is a defining moat around Palantir that warrants the multiple in the market cap versus Snowflake, which is why I compare them. Yes, they are different businesses, but at the end of the day, I do think it's fair to compare them from a SaaS perspective, but definitely they are different businesses as well. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it. TJ, what's up? Celsius starts to look appealing. I know TJ was talking to me about some of these Celsius cash secured puts and some of the premiums on that. I mean, let's look at that real quick. And then I promise I'm going to get into everything at the Palantir AIP event. Let's look at Celsius real quick. Let's see the cash secured puts premiums. I wouldn't sell puts on Celsius because I don't believe in the company yet, quite frankly. But if it's as a cash grab, then that's a different question. So trade options. You guys can see this, right? Sell, we're going to sell 1 month out. So we're going to do July 19th, sell put. So right now the market is willing to give me, so the 60 and 65 is the only one that's attractive. 65, so 345 divided by 6,500. The market's willing to give me a 5.3% premium if I buy, if I sell the $65 put. Where's Celsius right now? Celsius at 67. If you are long Celsius, 65 should be a great entry price because it was at 52 in the beginning of the year. So it's not like you're buying it at 80 or 90 if you get it signed. You're buying it at 65. And actually, you're buying it at 62 something after you subtract the premium. So yeah, it's not the worst premium. And then the 60 is 182. So 182 divided by 6,000. That's a 3% premium. TJ, the 182 at 60 looks the most appealing to me for July 19th. I would not sell it though because I don't believe in Celsius yet. I still don't really understand what I would be doing if I have Celsius shares. I would be like, I don't know what I would do with them. So the premiums are juicy and the premiums are getting juicy because the thing is falling. But if anyone's super long Celsius, maybe right now selling some cash puts, not the worst idea if you're into Celsius. Okay, cool. So I think let's get into the whole Palantir conversation now. All right, awesome. So that is the end of the market open. For the next hour, I will be discussing, as you guys can see the hat right there. If any of you guys saw the end of the halftime show, they gave me this hat. It's super, super awesome. Natalie was super cool. She got us the hat. She was one of the girls on the panel. So for the next hour, I'm going to discuss everything I got from my takeaways from the event. I'll probably do another video on this later for Daily Palantir, but this will be like the interactive where anyone can ask me questions and we can keep going from there. Okay, cool. So what did I take away from this event? First of all, let me just say before I get started, let me put this in the timestamp. Okay, cool. So let me say this before I get started as well, because I got to get this out of the way as well, because I wanted to say this. First of all, I just want to say, Chris Patel, Amit is no longer an investor. He's a paid spokesperson. First of all, I'm not. The only thing I'm getting paid is in Palantir gains. That's what I'm getting paid in. Second of all, I'm sorry, Chris. Snowflake is just it didn't work, dude. I don't know what to tell you, dude. Like at the end of the day, numbers don't lie, right? Men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. At some level, we've got to admit that one stock is up, one stock's down. I don't know what to tell you, dude. One stock's up, one stock's down. I don't know what to say. Anyway, okay. So before we get into it, first of all, I just want to say thank you to everyone who kept up with everything over the weekend. And I was really thinking about this on the flight here. It's the amount of love and support that people provided in terms of keeping up with the content, keeping up with the Twitter posts. I know the people were following me on Twitter, even the YouTube. I posted some community posts and just like showing love in the comments and everything. I said this a while ago on the first time I met Carp, but off the second go around, I think people genuinely were happy to see me here. And it's very rare in life when a group of people, much less thousands of people, are actually happy to see you succeed in anything. And so I just want to start off by saying thank you, everybody, for like being happy on this journey. I mean, the amount of comments I got, like the number one comment I got from everybody was, we're so happy this happened to you, right? We're so happy that like they recognize you, that this was your moment, that you were able to take advantage of this, that you were able to go out there and do this, and you were able to go do this thing. You guys have basically seen me grow up in real time. From when I didn't know what a market cap was in 2021, talking about Palantir. I had no idea what an ontology was, but I was trying my best to talk about it because no one was talking about it on YouTube. So I was like, all right, let me try to be the guy talking about it, to now being invited by the company, shaking hands with the CEO, getting to perform at their halftime event. And you guys know me as a creative and as a performer. I mean, like that event, like when they pitch, I'll tell you guys a story of how they pitched me the show, but to even get a chance to do it, it's like, everything I do, everything I work towards in terms of my communication skills is to perform, is to entertain. And to be able to entertain at a broader level, you know, on a big stage like AIPCon, I mean, it just means the world to me. And to have other people that were actually happy. I mean, as soon as it went live, I'll show you guys when we scroll through Twitter, everyone was just like, oh my God, Amit's doing this, like Amit's doing this. Like people were making jokes like, yo, I was cooking and then I hear Amit's voice while AIPcon's in the background. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like the reason I didn't tell anybody is because I wanted that surprise to happen. I genuinely love doing surprises for people. I always think it's kind of fun and cool. And so I was happy the surprise worked out. I was really happy people were excited. And I was really happy people were just like there on the journey and they actually wanted to see me win, because it's just, you know, most times in life, people get jealous, they get angry, they don't think you deserve it and all that stuff. And I think the one thing I think people, it's going to be hard for them to say, maybe there's like 2% of people saying it, but 98% of people, they said you deserve it. And for someone who's grown up with parents that really try to keep you humble, and you know, they make sure you say, if you put your hand out and ask for something, you better have worked your ass off to be asking for whatever you're asking for. The deserve it part was the big deal for me. You know, over 2,600 videos, we do a live stream every single, like, you know, it's like Palantir weekly to like 120 weeks. The deserve it part was really important to me. So that was one thing. And then the second thing is the market open and the market close. The amount of comments I got over the past week of missing the market open and market close, of people actually saying they wanted the show. It really proved to me sometimes, you know, when people don't have something, it kind of shows how much they care about it. Do they want it? Can they go across their daily lives? And if that doesn't exist anymore, will they be able to get through it? And pretty much everyone probably would be able to get through it if I stopped streaming. But the fact that people actually wanted it was really, really exciting and really, really important. In fact, guys, let me just say this right here. I actually got a job offer last week. I got a job offer. I've never had a job in my life. I never had a 401k, never had health benefit. I have healthcare. Like I have my own independent healthcare, but I never had like an actual job. I got a job offer last week. I'm not going to say the company name. I ended up, well, I'll tell you guys the story more in depth, but it was high six figures. First time I got a high six-figure job offer thrown in my face with 401k, benefits, paid time off, all this shit. And I was really thinking of taking the job. I would still be able to do this, but this would be compromised with the job. And the reason I was thinking of taking the job, because I was like, well, that's a lot of money, you know? And like when you see that much money, you're just like, I've never seen that much money in my life in terms of being given as a salary. And when I went to California, the whole week I spent thinking of, should I take this job or not? I was on the plane going to California, and I came back thinking, I cannot sacrifice the independence of what I'm doing. And the independence of what I'm doing, it's not making six figures a year, but it's making a billion figures of impact in my heart, in my mind, and I think to the audience. And anything that sacrifices that and compromises that, it would be one of the greatest regrets of my life, you know, regardless of the money. So to me, I ended up sending a rejection email to that job a couple of days ago, and the guy was super cool about it. He understood why. But not doing the market open just showed me how much I want to do the market open. And the feedback from people wanting the market open also showed me, oh, people actually care about the content. And so doing this job just because you're afraid of income security might not be the best idea if it sacrifices the ability for you to actually build your own brand. And at the end of the day, dude, and okay, last thing I'll say, and then I'll get to the Palantir thing. I was at a wedding yesterday. One of my friends who was there, first of all, my friends have no idea what the fuck I'm doing, but one of my friends, she was crying on my shoulders 2 years ago when she was working at JP Morgan because of how much she hated her job. So I met her, and she was at the wedding, and she was asking me what I'm doing, how life's turned out. And I was like, yeah, I like stream on YouTube. And I know in her head, she's like, this guy's a fucking loser, dude. Like I know in her head, she's saying that. And I was like, what are you, what's up with you? She's like, oh, I got upgraded to associate. at JP Morgan. And I was like, oh, cool. And in my head, I'm like, oh, so now you're going to be crying on my shoulder as an associate instead of a fucking analyst, right? So in my head, I'm like, anyone can get a job, dude. At the end of the day, like there's 8 million of them shits open in JOLTS, right? There's plenty of jobs available. There are very few opportunities to actually build a brand. And I was talking to Chad about this as well, because I came to Chad. I was like, hey, Chad, what do you think about this situation? Should I take this job? And Chad was like, dude, think about what Karp went through. Karp went through a lot of shit those first 5-7 years building Palantir, where the first 20 years, he had no liquidity on any of it. All of his net worth was in one company. He had no liquidity on a privately traded company, So you have to eat shit when you're building anything of your own, whether it's a company, your own personal brand, whatever it may be. And the money, the short-term gratification cannot dissuade you from choosing to bet on yourself. And if you proved that you have the ability to bet on yourself, and you've come so far, you don't come so far just to come so far and then go the corporate route, which there's nothing wrong with doing that at all. And I think to an extent it's privileged to reject that. But at some level, if you're going to try to be out there and be that guy and like really do something crazy, you can't get blindsided by short-term, money. And so I rejected it, and I decided I'm just gonna keep betting myself and do what I need to do. And so it is what it is. Some people might think that's stupid. I think I could not sacrifice the sanctity of my independence, and that's something really special. That's why I don't pump any advertisements or any courses or anything like that. I just want to provide value, keep doing what I'm doing, and keep going from there. So, yeah, that's why we're here. Thank you, Walt, for the $20 super chat. Thank you, Danphony, for the $20 super chat. You guys don't have to send super chats at all. I'm not trying to act like I'm asking for money here or anything like that. And look, the offer was attractive because of the money. It's not like I'm broke or anything. I'm doing okay money-wise. Robinhood keeps doing what it does. I'm going to do really good money-wise this year. But it's not really about the money. It was more so about the security that it would provide me. It's not like I don't have money to pay my bills and survive and all this stuff, but it's about the security. And at some level, if you're going to build your own thing and be an entrepreneur, you have to be a little insecure. You have to have less security for more gains in the future. And that's all the ultimate sacrifice you have to make. Okay, cool. So let's actually talk about AIPCon. So how did this all go down? How did this actually happen? So we're at this all starts at the DC event. Okay. Iliano, shout out to Iliano. Iliano is one of my boys. He's the guy I actually met yesterday at Virginia. So Iliano is like the government affairs strategic partnership dude at Palantir, right? Iliano takes it upon himself to invite Arnie and I to the DC AI Expo. He didn't tell Karp he was doing this. He just invited me, right? And like Karp has enabled him. And this is the other thing I learned about Palantir. I have a lot to say, guys. So I'm going to be talking a lot about this. Karp has enabled a culture in Palantir from the top down. And this is another reason. After this, I think you will understand a deeper investment thesis around the culture of Palantir that you can only understand if you actually talk to the employees, which is why I want to say all of this right now. He has enabled a culture in Palantir that is fundamentally entrepreneurial. And that entrepreneurial culture means you don't ask for permission. You just get shit done. Now, maybe everything you do is not going to be successful, but the point is you try. And very few companies, especially tech companies, have the culture like that because they're so bureaucratic. There's like 17 different product managers you have to go to just to approve a new feature. And then features end up not getting requested. I mean, I was talking to this one guy at Nobu. We were getting dinner and he was like, I used to work at Google and it took us 2 years to get one product approved. And then the product got approved and then legal shut it down. So it's like, that's why he left Google to work at Palantir. He's like, fuck this, dude. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, what am I even doing with my life? Right. So that culture is so unique, right? Iliano invites Arnie and I to the DC event. We get to the DC event, right? That's when we met Karp and all that cool stuff happened and we covered the event. Then Sasha Spivak, who is the head of corporate development at Palantir, she hits me up with Chad. You guys know Chad by now. Chad is like the lead AIP architect. And they hit me up and they say, hey, can we get on a meeting? And I'm like, sure. And we get on this meeting and we get on this meeting. And in this meeting, they're like, hey, so we have an idea for AIPCon. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, we want you to host a halftime show that we're doing at AIPCon. And in my head, I'm like, where do I sign up? Like, and I try not to be super excited because I try to like keep my cool. But in my head, I'm like, yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think there's a lot of ways we can work on this. We'll collaborate. I'll send you a Google Doc and we'll like get the whole push. Like in my head, I'm like, holy shit, dude. I'm like, holy shit. Like this is going to be epic. Like I can already see it playing out. Like everything that happened at AIPCon in my head, I'm like, this is going to work. I was like, this is absolutely going to work. This is going to be like an incredible show, because I knew that if we prepared and we worked hard enough, which we went through, I've been in practice for 3 weeks. I've not told anybody. Like every day at like 2:30 p.m., I was in the Zoom meeting practicing with all of them and trying to figure this whole thing out. And in my head, I was like, I can set the tone. I can make it go really smooth. It can be exciting. It's a familiar face for retail. And then on top of that, AIPCon gets boring during the halftime show. It gets super boring. And so if it gets super boring, like if they wanted to make it exciting, then yeah, we should do like a little bit of a halftime show. That like, it's kind of like inside the NBA kind of TNT vibes on AIPCon. So in my head, I'm like, this is a no-brainer. This is super exciting. We should definitely do it. So for the next 3 weeks, we start going down to it. We start preparing. I start meeting the entire team, and they get me well acquainted with like how this is going to work. And then I fly out to California. And so now I'm here in California. We have a dress rehearsal. We have a dress rehearsal the day before. And then in the dress rehearsal, we walk into the thing you guys saw, the AIPCon. That's the stage Carp was on. And that was an incredible stage. That was a beautiful stage. They had such a good, like, they had a nice theme and the colors. It was amazing. And then we do the dress rehearsal. And then the dress rehearsal, it goes okay. It's not phenomenal. It's not like perfect, but like, you know, me, Nat, Jack, and Chad, those are the people on the panel with me. We were all like just trying to figure out how are we going to do what we're trying to do. And the whole idea was if we can keep the energy up there, then, you know, I think it can go really well. And so then we just keep practicing. And then after we practice, we're like, all right, we're good to go. And then the next day is the halftime show. Now, leading up to the halftime show, I'm calling it the halftime show. It's called the Backstage Pass, but it was basically the halftime show. Leading up to the halftime show, in my head, I'm like, I really don't want to fuck this up. And there have been moments where I have been able to, let's just say, talk without having to rehearse that much. I mean, sometimes during the market open, right, a story will break and I'll ramble for the next 20 minutes about that story because I have all these thoughts in my head and I can just start rambling. And like the content is still not horrible because I have enough of a background knowledge on the subject. And then you can analyze the news as soon as you're reading it and then come up with an opinion and then provide that value to the audience that's hopefully valuable to them, right? So I know how to do that on the spot. With AIPCon, I was like, I can't do that, dude. I can't fuck that up. Because if I fuck that up, it's just not going to go well. So I tweeted this right here on Friday. Would you guys believe I slept 1 hour that night? Why? Because I was up rehearsing the first 2 minutes of me introducing everything because I knew it would set the tone for the show. Literally the first 2 minutes, dude. I remember the first 2 minutes like it's like it's my birthday, dude. I can do it right now. Ready? I can do it right now. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody watching from home. My name is Amit. No, I just messed it up. That's not. I've said it so many times I messed it up. All right, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody watching from home. We are here at the first ever Palantir AIPCon Backstage Pass. My name is Amit. You've probably seen me make some videos on the company online. I've been covering the company for the better part of 3 years. So Palantir invited me, blah, 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 blah. I go through the whole thing, right? I literally have done it 25,000 times in my head to the point where it's like stuck in my memory forever. And the reason for that is because I did not want to mess up and say, hey, everybody, welcome back to the channel. Because the first couple times I was rehearsing it, I kept saying, hey, everybody, welcome back to the channel. And I was like, oh my God, if I say, hey, everybody, welcome back to the channel, I will find a bridge. I will go to that Golden Gate Bridge and I will, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I know a lot of people have actually, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't do that. But the point is, like I would be really upset, right? Now, granted, if I said, hey, everybody, welcome back to the channel, I could probably be like, just kidding. We're actually at AIPCon. I could probably play it off, but I didn't want to say that, right? I didn't want to say that. So I had to remind myself this was not a YouTube video. And so this is a video Arnie took of me. This was in the morning. I was rehearsing this shit in the morning, no sleep. I'm outside waiting for the Uber. And I'm like, I can't fuck this up, dude. I just cannot fuck this up. And so that's what we were doing, right? And the other part that I really didn't want to fuck up is saying the names of the 3 people. So it was Chad Walquist, former Palantir customer, now lead AIP architect, Jack Dobson, forward deployed engineer, who now leads the boot camps at Palantir, and Natalie Schneider, who leads keynote creation at Palantir, blah, blah, blah. Like that whole stretch of the first 2 minutes, it was me. And I was like, if I fuck that up, it's not going to be a good tone for the show. And so I think I did okay. There was one stutter I made. I was like, and like that was really annoying. It bugged me for the past 2 days that I made that, but like, I really tried to keep that good. So we do the show. I think it goes really good. Obviously a lot of people get super excited when they see me on the show, and I'm going to get to like the other Palantir conversations I had, but just in terms of the show, it was pretty fun because everyone was surprised by it. So if you're not on Twitter, this is what happened that entire day. So I tweeted in the morning, I'm not going to be doing AIPCon because I'm like, by the way, a lot of people believed me And I was saying some bullshit. I said, I won't be streaming it because I'm away from the studio for work. I have been gone this whole week. If I was you guys, I would be like, Palantir AIPCon, Amit's gone. I feel like 2 + 2 = 4. Now, to give you guys credit, some of you figured it out, but the vast majority did not really know, which was really good for me because I did a good job. Sure, like just lying about this, which I had to. And then I said, JK, I'm here right now. First ever Palantir AIP backstage pass, starting online in the stream. And then boom, we did it. And then everyone kind of starts freaking out. They're like, holy crap. I get on everyone's screens. And this is what Palantir wanted. This is what Shasha, right? She's the mastermind behind. Karp didn't even know I was there, bro. Karp found out like 10 minutes before he went on stage that I was even there. So like Karp does not know these things. Karp is not running AIPCon. Karp is running Palantir, and there's other corporate development teams in Palantir that are running events like AIPCon. So it was really detached from leadership. But obviously they cared about the event going well. And so they just trusted, going back to that whole entrepreneurial culture, they just trusted, and then you got Arnie right there as well. They just trusted that the show would go well and that different teams would execute the way they need to execute. And so it was super fun, super exciting. Got to that Palantir tagged me for the first time ever. It's so funny because I know the guy now who runs their social page. He's never tagged me in a tweet. But for the first time, they finally tagged me. It was like, oh, wow, you guys tagged me. So it was hilarious. And so we were at AIPCon. And so it was super fun. Backstage pass goes awesome. And I think the show was exciting. And I think people enjoyed it as well. I'm going to answer all the questions in just a little bit, guys. I'll get to all the questions, but overall, I think it went really well, right? So that was the backstage pass. And so after that, throughout the next like 8 hours, there's a bunch of presentations by all these smaller companies. There's 70 smaller companies presenting little workshops and things like that. So after the backstage pass, that's when I start meeting all of the Palantir employees. There was also like a cocktail hour the day before. That's where I got to meet a bunch of Palantir employees. And so now I want to talk about what I learned from the Palantir employees that furthers my conviction in Palantir. Robinhood over 23 and Palantir over 23. Amazing. Awesome. Robinhood $23.01. Palantir right now. Where's Palantir? Palantir is basically 23. It's $22.99 right now on Palantir. Not bad. So what I got from the actual event in terms of talking to, I think I talked to at least 50 employees. I spent the entire cocktail hour, networking event, reception. I didn't really drink anything because I don't really like drinking. So I didn't drink anything. So I was just spending time talking to these employees. I was asking them 2 questions. Any steak dinners? Yeah, Chad took me to a steak dinner. So I'm so done. Dude, I had like 3 steak dinners over the past week. I'm so done with steak dinners. I don't want steak dinners for like another month. Like I've had so, and I'm getting a steak dinner with Iliano because he's coming to New York next week. So I'm like, I'm gonna have a steak dinner with him. But yeah, I've had too many steak dinners. The number one question I asked every single Palantir employee, number one question was, why do you work at Palantir and why are you not working anywhere else? I asked this to employees that joined 2 months ago. I asked this to employees who've been there for like 10 years. And I talked to a majority of people. The average length of time that I talked to an employee was probably 7 years. So I talked to a lot of people that have been there for a long time. There's 2 answers they gave me. The first answer was Karp, unequivocally Karp. And I'm not joking about that. They said Karp. And I think it's very rare to invest in a company at 50 billion market cap that actually says, yeah, the CEO is the reason I'm here. I mean, if you join Google, are you really like, oh, Sundar, that's why? Like, no, bro. You're like, Sundar is not the reason you're at Google, dude. You're at Google for a check, right? Like you're at Google because they paid you a salary. Or if you go to Apple, you're like, oh, Tim Cook. It's like, no. Meta, Zuckerberg, no, like no one's saying that, right? So I think it's very rare to have every employee unequivocally be like, Karp. That was the first thing. The second thing, and this is one of the things I dude, call me crazy. I think it's the reason for why this culture is going to carry Palantir into the next evolution of growth. Every single employee that is there has the autonomy to do things on their own, and the culture that is built in that company. And this is what every employee told me about the culture and what it means to have a culture. It means they have an undefined role. They have an undefined job. What does an undefined job mean? An undefined job. Are we still live? Hold on. Let me make sure. Are we still live? Are we still live right now? Oh yeah, we're still live. We're still live. Okay. Sorry, it was looking like we weren't live. An undefined role basically means they can do whatever they want, right? And because they can do whatever they want, they have the ability to essentially, sorry guys, it froze for a second. I thought we weren't live anymore. An undefined role basically means they can do whatever they want. So what does it mean to do whatever you want? It means if you're the head of supply chain for like 7 different customers in New York, you can do things that you are not assigned to do. You can lead different workshops with your customers. You can go to your customers and get different concerns from them. You can take a sort of eccentric approaches to figure out how to solve their questions. You can talk about how their customers are engaging with your product in a really unique way. Every employee, when I asked them, here's another thing I asked them, I was like, what do you do for fun? Dude, a majority of the employees said, we don't do anything for fun, we work. And you guys might think I'm being hyperbolic here. I'm telling you, I literally was asked, what do you watch on Netflix? They were like, we don't watch Netflix, we work. There's one guy, he has a wife and kid in New York. And I was like, so like, what do you do for fun? He was like, I am working 100 hours. I don't have fun. Like, and if I'm not working, I'm reading a book. Shout out to my guy, David. He's in New York and he does a lot of supply chain stuff for Palantir. He was like, I'm working, dude. He's like, I work. And so that begged the question then, right? It begged the question, why are you working so much? What is the point of working so much? What is the point of having all this autonomy? Why are you doing all this? And he said, because we believe in the mission. And now that might seem cheesy, right? To a lot of people even to me, I was like, oh, that's kind of cheesy. But when they mean mission, and you don't understand this until you actually talk to these people. This is a guy who's not working in USG. He's not working to like protect the government from China. He's working with his clients to optimize their supply chains. He looks me dead in the face and he says, my customers basically build the backbone of various industries. And if I think he was like, he's one of the head forward deployed engineers or something. He was like, if I don't show up for them and if I don't connect them to the resources they need and to the support they need, then their companies fall apart. And if their companies fall apart, Palantir doesn't deliver on the promise we say to them, which is to give you transformative experiences for your enterprise to be able to actually solve problems, not just be sold software that says it's going to solve problems. I know that sounds like a pile of horse crap. And I know that sounds like something you read in a brochure. Trust me, I thought it was also stuff you read in a brochure. But after the first guy and the second guy and the third guy and then the fourth girl and then the fifth girl and then like the head of this and the head of that, and I met Matt Babin, the head of the Palantir Energy, and I'm talking to him about like why he's still there 15 years later from when he joined, I think in like 2007 or something. It's the same response over and over again. I was like, why didn't you leave yet? Why don't you go like start your own business, right? You made enough money. He was like, I run my own business inside of Palantir. And if I run my own business inside of Palantir, which is he runs the entire energy business, it's like, he's like, I have all the autonomy in the world. Carp gives me the freedom to do what I want to do. And so I get to make the biggest customers in the world, BP, obviously one of the public energy clients for Palantir, be the most efficient they can be. And they pay us a shitload of money to do that. And so why would I go anywhere else? And so from that perspective, I think it was just an incredible experience talking to these employees. I'm trying to get more of them on a podcast. We're going to try to set up some more podcasts with these employees. These employees are cut from a different cloth. Cloth. Chris says, I think Amit just proved that Palantir is an expensive consulting company. Chris, you have no idea what you're talking about. You are wrong on this, and you can keep buying Snowflake. You are wrong on this. Palantir is working with their clients. The reason those 8 companies showed up at AIPCon to do a boot camp is not because they're paying Palantir a consultant fee. Tampa General just paid $50 million to a consultant. They didn't pay $50 million to get consulting. They paid $50 million for software. Are Palantir employees going to help them? Of course. And the beauty of AIP is AIP going to maximize probably 1,000x the efficiency because of LLMs of a forward deployed engineer? Yes. And that was another thing one of the Palantir employees was telling me. He was like, with AIP, now forward deployed engineers aren't as needed, or they become 10x more valuable, essentially. Because now, instead of sending a forward deployed engineer to BP can just ask AIP a question and it gets a response. If they really need help from a forward deployed engineer, then yes, they can help them, right? That's the point of why they're there. And by the way, not all their customers have AIP yet, right? So that's why they still need some of that customer assistance. But the point is they're paying for software, and Palantir as a company is helping to partner with those companies to build transformative software. And that transformative software is very important. So anyone that says Palantir is a consulting firm, again, you don't know what you're talking about. You just don't know. You can say it sounds like a consulting firm. Sure, I'll give you that. It sounds like a consulting firm. The point is consulting firms don't have 80% gross margin. And honestly, one of the reasons Palantir has such a tight relationship with their customers is because they're actually working with them to build something. Booz Allen Hamilton, which is a software tech government consulting firm, is not getting a $480 million contract for Project Maven. There's a reason it came to Palantir, man. Like there's a reason the government, the army said $480 million to you guys, not Booz Allen Hamilton. There's going to be thousands of users across the army and the military, butts in seats, licenses that they have to pay for from Palantir to be able to use that software. Will they need Palantir's help getting that set up and getting it streamlined? Of course. And that's why you have 4 deployed engineers. And I think of it no differently as like, if you want to run YouTube ads, you have to call up a YouTube ad person at Google. Like I did this before. I ran YouTube ads back in 2020. I was doing like a bunch of little businesses and I had to get on the phone with someone. You could call them a consultant, but you wouldn't say Google's a consulting firm. And they had to set up my entire ad account. And then if I needed any help, I could call them and they could help me set up my ad account, right? So a company offering support and assistance is not a consulting company. It's just a question of if that consulting actually maximizes the value of the software, which is ultimately what they're paying for, which is software. Michael Schaefer, exactly this comment in the chat. Consulting companies live and die on billable hours. Having their own enterprise software would work against their best interests. Palantir sells reoccurring software, right? Reoccurring revenue on software, and they consult to implement that software in your organization. The reason Tampa General signed a 7-year contract with them for $50 million, and they mentioned that in that AIP Backstage Pass, is because they're a hard customer. And Palantir's people are the smartest people in the world, and they like working with that. They like working with Palantir because they actually help them build what they need to do. So that is one of the important things to understand about Palantir. Now, second of all, these employees, again, when I say they're cut from a different cloth, I mean they are literally cut from a different cloth. So here's the next thing I experienced on Palantir: the ontology. The ontology is something I still think all of us don't fully understand. I had a 2-hour session with Chad a couple weeks ago, the lead Palantir AIP architect. And I said, Chad, can you just break down ontology to me? Can you really break down ontology? And for those 2 hours, when he broke down what an ontology is, remember, he was a customer of Palantir at a previous company. He left that company. He left that company to work at Palantir after they acquired the Foundry, right? The ontology. And he saw how transformative it was in his job. And he was like, fuck this, dude. And he came to, now Chad, a lot of you guys don't know Chad that well. I got to do a podcast with Chad, but Chad's a big deal, dude. Chad's one of the smartest guys on the planet. Like Chad is like, he's been in big data and enterprise software for the past 25 years. He was a college dropout. He taught himself all this shit. He's elite at this game. Him breaking down ontology to me 2 weeks ago finally gave me a better understanding of ontology. Then, and I'll talk about what that understanding is on a TLDR. Then I talked to the employees, right? And so I'm talking to the employees and I'm like, hey, why does Carp keep talking about the ontology? And their eyes light up. Like, I can't make this up, dude. Their eyes light up. It's like, these people were excited to talk about ontological structures of data for 20 minutes with me, all of them. And so I'm talking to them and I'm like, so what is the point of the ontology? There is a reason Palantir has like 5,000 patents on the ontology. It's really fucking hard to build. And so what is an ontology at its core? It's a semantic representation of your business data. Your business has a ton of data. Snowflake is storing that data in a lakehouse, but the actual representations of that data, the way the data interacts with other types of data, the relational variables of that data to drive actual decisions, meaning how does that data come from this place, and this place, and how can you as a business make a decision, which is what we saw in the AIPCon keynotes, from having an ontological representation of your data. How much is that worth? And then do LLMs operationalize that to a new level, which is the whole point of AIP? And do you need that to be competitive in the 21st century? The answer to all three of those questions is yes. And so as a result of that, speaking to these employees who work on ontologies all day, the number one thing they're telling me is like, the reason we're going to win, and dude, a lot of employees that I talk to, they haven't sold a fucking share. I mean, you got some employees that have very nice averages. I mean, some of you guys have like, $9, $10 averages. These employees have been there for a while. They have very, very sexy averages. They have not sold a single fucking share. And and a lot of times, and another thing that they were talking about, a lot of times the reason Carp and Sham and stuff they're selling is to pay for their taxes. They did not have liquidity for 20 years when they were working on this stuff, right? Are they selling some to actually, like Peter Thiel selling some to make money? I'm sure. Yes, they're selling to make money. CEOs, CFOs eventually have to sell to make money. But a lot of them are selling to cover their taxes. A lot of the other employees in the company that have been there for 7-8 years, they're like, I'm not selling a single fucking share because we know what's going to happen. Like they are so confident on their business. And the reason they're confident is because of the ontology. And that on Michael Schaefer right here, you guys might not know Michael Schaefer has had a little bit of a run at Palantir as well. I haven't sold a single share since DPO. People aren't selling for a reason. And that reason comes down to ontology. So what are they saying about the ontology? Every employee I talk to that is bullish on Palantir internally in the company, their argument is the ontology is the basis for how every single business over the next 20 years is going to be able to actually make decisions with their data. And if data is increasing at an exponential level, which we know that's happening right now with the rise of LLMs, we're trying to find how much more disparate data can we get to train into these models. If that data is going higher and higher and higher in terms of entering into the enterprise, then if that data is in the enterprise and that data is not being operationalized, which is just a fancy word for is that data being used to drive value, increase margins, increase revenue, cut costs, those are the three things, then that data is not going to be valuable. And or like the enterprise itself is not going to be able to maintain success or maintain value over the long term. And I think we're seeing that in a variety of different organizations. Palantir 2309 right now, Robinhood 2293. So every employee that I talk to that is bullish on Palantir, there's a reason they're at the company. There's a reason they're not selling their shares. There's a reason they want to continue to be shareholders in Palantir, is because they feel, and this is what Karp literally said in the Yahoo Finance interview, that now we're in a world of AI when it comes to chips and ontology. Chips is NVIDIA's AI revolution, semiconductors, etc. Boom, there you go. Ontology is an actual representation of your data that allows your business to have the capability to move forward. AI is just this new thing that like hypercharges and supercharges what the ontology of your business looks like. When I was talking to Karp was very bullish about Palantir. And so I'll tell the Karp story in a second. But one of the things I asked him was like, why are you so excited about Palantir? And he said one sentence. He said, LLMs and the rise of LLMs are operationalizing the use of an ontology, which is exactly what he said in that Yahoo Finance interview. He says, the only reason LLMs are valuable is if you connect it to an ontology. I know it sounds super basic as a thesis, but it's true. This is why Snowflake coming up with an Arctic LLM, it's stupid. It doesn't make sense because GPT, Gemini, Claude, Anthropic, all like the LLMs are already there. And if the LLMs are already there, the question becomes, what are the LLMs connecting to in terms of a single source of truth for the enterprise's data to become usable, not just from a chat interface, but to actually become a computational form of infrastructure to power business decisions inside of the enterprise, to actually create agents that can do a variety of different tasks in your business on an automated or on a task-based prompt engineer type of ecosystem. That only happens when the LLMs connect to a business data that knows what it wants to do. That's why when Karp says, oh, the LLMs are creating poetry, his whole point is if you're just talking to ChatGPT to talk to ChatGPT, you're going to get poetry. If you're actually using an LLM inside of a structured ontology, you're getting business results. And so from that perspective, I think the dirty little secret that Palantir knows that the rest of the world doesn't, which is what Karp talked about in the Yahoo Finance interview and is what I think all the employees that are bullish about the company understand, is that no one recognizes how valuable an ontology really is. And a lot of these companies that are trying out other software companies like a Snowflake, a Datadog, et cetera, they're going to get value, but they're not going to get the type of value they need to become transformational. And if they don't have the type of value they need to become transformational, then they're not going to be competitive in the 21st century with a lot of other organizations. I mean, United, you guys saw that keynote. What United is doing with the ontological representation of their data, you know why Elliott just built a $2 billion stake, Elliott activist management firm into Southwest? Is because Southwest kind of sucks. And they've not performed if you look at them in the context of Elliott. So, or in the context of United. I'm not saying Palantir's the reason for United's success. What I am saying is if you saw that keynote, United was my favorite presentation that I saw, and I'm going to cover the keynotes later this week on Daily Palantir. What United was saying all came down to having an ontology of their data. And Southwest is going to need that. American is going to need that. Delta is going to need that. All of these companies are going to need that. If AT&T has an ontology of their data, Verizon is going to need that. T-Mobile is going to need that. If BP has an ontology of their data, there's a reason Exxon started working with Palantir. They need the same thing. This ontology is going to sell the version of AIP that is an add-on onto Foundry. It's going to supercharge the ability for them to sell Apollo, and it's going to be the epicenter of them being able to sell new products, in my opinion, in the future, because I think there's going to have to be new products over the next 5 years, right? Palantir will keep innovating, and there's a reason Snowflake is down as well. They just acquired 4 companies in the past year. Why did they acquire 4 companies? Because they don't know what to fucking do, dude. At some level, at some level, you can complain Palantir's growth rate is just barely above 20%. At least it's organic and it has the chance to go up. Versus Snowflake at 35%, they had to acquire 4 different companies that have been failures. And why'd they acquire Neeva for 150 million? What was the point of that? Like to get the CEO to be their new CEO? Like you couldn't have just asked him to be the CEO. Why'd you have to give him 150 million? Like this is just corporate nonsense that has been happening at some of these other companies. And the reason that's not happening at Palantir is because this ontology, I think, is the epicenter of how they're going to be able to sell other companies and how they're going to be able to innovate on top of what that ontology is. So from my perspective, what I got from AIPCon and what I really got from talking to employees, because I made it a priority of myself to figure out, am I drinking the Kool-Aid of Palantir here? Have I just been told this amazing story about Palantir for the past couple of years that I've bought into, or do these people believe it? Because you get to know how a company thinks by talking to their employees, right? You get to know how a company, how the culture really works when you ask their employees, like, why are you here? Why haven't you left? What's the point of being here? Like, what's so exciting about working at this company? And I'm telling you, dude, and maybe it's only because I talked to the select 50 employees that were at AIPCon. Maybe if I go to like South Korea and I talk to the employees all hate carp. Maybe that's true. But the 50 employees I talked to, and minimum 50, all said the ontology is the biggest secret that the world doesn't know about. Carp as a leader gives them the framework to be able to execute and make more decisions, which is very rare in a company worth $50 billion. Most CEOs don't have that type of essentially miraculous and magical type of leadership over their employees. You could call it a cult-like leadership. As long as it makes money and as long as people are aligned on the mission, that's what matters. And they don't have the mission-focused culture that entrenches throughout the entirety of the organization. I mean, one person literally told me, dude, if China invades Taiwan, I would rather not re-enlist in the military. I'd rather work at Palantir, because I know being in the military is, and he's a veteran, right? So it's not like he's just speaking out of his ass. He's like, instead of just going back into the military, I know that the best use of my talents could actually be building transformational software to make sure Taiwan doesn't get nuked off the face of the earth if China invades. And so when you got people thinking like that, and when you got people that excited to be able to work at the company, it just gives you a different perspective that, oh, these people actually believe. These people really do believe. Michael Schaefer says, it's true. I was there for 15 years. There was something magical about Palantir, Carp, the mission, the people. I've never been more bullish on Palantir than I am right now. And then here's the other thing. This is their moment. This is their moment. AI is their moment. What's happening right now with every like, why have they hosted 4 AIPcons? At the end of the day, we can also acknowledge AIPCon is marketing, right? You slap AI in front of conference and then boom, there's a marketing angle to this. They're capitalizing on this moment from a marketing perspective because they know AI is the Trojan horse to sell the ontology, and the ontology is what makes AI usable. Again, let's not complicate this. If you're a business and you're implementing AI, you are essentially amalgamating massive amounts of data. You are using LLMs with that data to try to make sense of that data to streamline operational efficiency, increase revenues, increase operating margins, decrease costs. None of that happens without an ontology. And AI became the perfect marketing vehicle for Palantir, not only to build AIP on top of the ontology, but to sell the ontology, because the ontology ultimately is the epicenter of how all of that stuff gets done. Randy Kame says, what AI software company is growing AI revenue with margin and profitable, unlike MongoDB, Snow, CRM, etc.? AI spending on software has not seen conviction from companies. Is Palantir the only outlier? I agree with you. I think a lot of enterprise spend has not reached the levels of hyperscaler spend, like, Zuck's, I don't know how much. They probably spent like $10 billion this year on NVIDIA chips or something like that. And they've like $30 billion over the past couple of years. That has not happened for the Palantir, Snowflake's, Datadog. Like, that much money has not come into the software ecosystem. However, I think it is cyclical to an extent, right? And this is the part of Kathy. I agree with her thesis on this. Like, eventually, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, they're not going to be paying billions of dollars to NVIDIA anymore, right? Like, eventually, that's going to have a top. Maybe it's not this year, maybe it's not next year, but that's going to top out. Eventually, that money is going to have to trickle down to software companies that have to make sense of all the data that is required within the enterprises to be able to use those LLMs that were trained from the hyperscalers, paying all that money to NVIDIA to get all those H100s, to be able to build something meaningful and like actually increase efficiencies. And that's where I think the Palantirs, the Snowflakes, the Datadogs make a lot of sense, the Salesforces, et cetera. The problem is, after Salesforce earnings, the market is kind of thinking, Vlad just tweeted, I'll pull that up in a second. The market is kind of thinking, well, maybe Snowflake doesn't have that Maybe CRM doesn't have that. And if they don't have that, then it comes down to holy crap, what did Vlad just announce? Then oh my gosh, there's too much news. It's amazing news, dude. Okay, let's get to what he said. It comes down to an ontology. And that's the most important thing. So, okay, Vlad just tweeted some crazy shit. I don't know what the heck this is. Vlad just tweeted some wild shit. I'm gonna go to whatever Vlad tweeted in a second, but let me just wrap up on this because then we'll officially transition to Vlad. Yeah, Vlad tweeted some shit about AI, dude. He heard me talking about AI and he put out this tweet about AI. Maybe he's watching the stream. He's like, let's distract him a bit. Let's get him onto Robinhood now. So we'll talk about Robinhood in a second, but those are my takeaways. Any questions in the chat? Let me know. I want to answer all the questions. But my biggest takeaways are that these employees eat, sleep, and breathe Palantir. And every single one I talked to cannot imagine working anywhere else. I think one guy I talked to, his name was James. He used to work at Google. He left in like 2015. And he was just like, dude, like, I get to build at Palantir. And what do software developers want to do? Like the majority of the company is engineers. Engineers don't want to be fucked with. They want to build. They want to just try to keep building and creating and innovating. That is the heart of what they want to do. And when you try to disrupt that, everything goes wrong. And that's why Palantir struggle with sales, right? Because they're trying to figure out, but that's why the boot camps thing is so genius, because the engineers actually get to like build different products at these boot camps. And they're not just like selling over steak dinners and PowerPoints, right? So I think if they can accelerate that growth, and they're the only ontology game in town, and they're the only real AI game in the enterprise in town, a lot of other companies are going to struggle. Palantir is going to end up being the fucking winner, dude. And Peter Thiel does not lose. Karp does not lose. They did a lot of losing for the first 10 years. They figured out their mistakes. I think the employees are ready to take this to the next level, and they're pretty bullish to keep doing it. I'm gonna talk about Vlad in a second. I'll talk about Vlad in a second. I just want to finish these questions. Did you buy more Palantir? No. The reason I didn't buy more Palantir is because I'm waiting for 21. I bought a lot of Palantir at 21. By the way, I bought my sister like 700 shares at 21. I bought my dad 250 shares at 21. I actually got them at 20, 2050, whatever it was. I got a decent amount of shares when it was in 2021. I'm gonna sell puts at 21 though. But now I don't need to really buy too many shares at 22, 23 because I bought the dip. I bought the fucking dip. And so if we get back lower again, I will buy. I don't have a problem buying at 22, 23, but I bought it when it was in that 2021 range. And if it gets back there, I'll buy more. Yes. Can the average non-tech person deploy AIP at people that build sites, marketing, talent programs, etc.? So I think Palantir's trying to work on this. The AIP developer thing that they launched is basically their foray into getting normal people acquainted with how they're utilizing the software. Now, the average non-tech person can utilize AIP at a company, right? Domain subject matter experts in marketing or accounting can utilize AIP even if they're not coding anything. AIP is a no-code platform, by the way. Like there's code involved, but you don't need to know how to code to be able to use it. Now, if I want to start a restaurant tomorrow and I want to just like download AIP on my computer, I don't think that's available yet, but I think they're working towards that. And they're working towards how to roll that out in a sophisticated way and in a meaningful way. And when that happens, that's going to increase adoption across the industry. But more importantly, that's going to get average people using it, which is going to be important because even if they're not big customers, that's still going to keep more people excited about Palantir in general. And so I think that's going to be important. Elaine says, I haven't sold and I don't plan on selling. I have 52,000 shares at a $10 DCA average. Yeah, look, I mean, in terms of the valuation, is the valuation up there? Yes. I'm not going to sugarcoat it and be like, oh my God, it's super undervalued. It's going to $30. The only way I see this going to $30, the only way by the end of the year is if growth gets closer to 27% year over year. If we get to 25, we still have a chance to get to 30, but healthily, we need to be growing at 27% year over year. That would slice the PE in half. That would make it a lot more attractive. And every analyst would be more excited if the growth gets up there. By the way, guys, here's another point I want to say in terms of the valuation. Every single analyst on Wall Street, except Rishi, has a $23 to $28 price target on Palantir. Now, I'm not saying the analysts are the most important people in the world, but even Brent Thill, the guy from Microsoft who used to be super bearish about Palantir, he went on Yahoo Finance the other day. He has a hold on the stock, not a buy, but he has a $24 price target. So every analyst is acknowledging Palantir deserves the high 20s or mid 20s premium. Right now we're at like 22, 23, and they think that's fair value. So I don't know where this whole narrative is coming that Palantir deserves to be $15, $20, like $17, $18. we were stuck in that range for a good 18 months. That range, to the best of my knowledge, unless the S&P collapses 10%, is gone. It's like asking for Robinhood at $8. That's not happening, dude. Like that, like what you have, that opportunity is gone. We're done, right? So if that's the case, like Shopify, people say Shopify's fair value is $40. I actually agree. Shopify's fair value is probably 40. But the reason it bottomed at like 53 and now it's at 61 is because at some point you have so many shareholders, they're going to buy the dip. There's going to be institutions piling in after it falls 25% off of a pretty decent earnings, and they're going to pay a premium for an exceptional company, which Shopify is an exceptional company. Amazon, I mean, you talk about Amazon being overvalued. There's a reason they're still trading at that premium. I mean, Tesla, right? Like we can go on and on with examples. NVIDIA is the only one we can't say because NVIDIA's growth is just incredible. Palantir is one of those companies. I think the analysts have it at a higher premium because they know there's something special. It's up to us to figure out, is there something special? And then it's up for the company to execute on the growth rate that proves that there's something special. And I think the company will prove there's something special through the growth. I don't know when that's going to happen. My objective metrics are closer to 30% to really justify the valuation. And if they do that, then I'll be very happy. If they don't do that, then it is what it is, right? Like we got to get there. We got to get to 25 to 30% year-over-year growth. And that's trying to be super objective here. At 21%, it's not going to cut it. But also, I think the analysts think that it's going to happen. And I think what I got away from this weekend is after getting to talk to real human beings, not their brochures on their website, like real people that have worked at the company for years. Why do you work here? What's the point of working here? Why haven't you, like at one point it started becoming funny because every time a new Palantir employee came up to me while we were in our little circle, I would be like, oh, what's your name? They'd be like, oh, my name's Jackson. But I'd be like, and then I'd get ready for my next question. And my friend David, who's one of the Palantir employees, he's like, just get ready. He's going to interrogate you. He would literally tell employees, like, he's about to interrogate you right now, just warning you. Because, like, literally, I was interrogating these mother effers. I was trying to figure out if the bag I'm holding of Palantir is going to be a very, very, very big bag filled with a lot of money one day. And I needed to know, are these guys, like, legit? And this was the first time I got an experience to actually ask them real questions. So I interrogated all of them, and I walked away just feeling more confident about the company and what the company's doing. Samir, the head of US commercial, he was like the biggest fan of me. He came up to me and he was just like, dude, the reason they were grateful for seeing me is because they got so much shit in the media for the past 20 years, so much shit with the evil company, blah, 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 all this nonsense, right? To have someone advocating that, hey, the company's not evil, everyone's full of shit, like the media's full of shit, and this is actually a real company here, they just appreciated that a lot. And so a lot of Samir, who leads US commercial, he was one of the people that actually got in 2018 Palantir into the United States commercial business after they had failed for the first couple of years, back on track. And he was just really happy that I've been making content. He's been really happy that, you know, we've been trying to understand the business as much as we have. And his biggest thing was most people don't understand the company. And over the past 2 years, you've done a really good job at trying to educate people about what the company is, and you've tried to understand the company. Now, his exact words was, you actually get it. And in my head, I was like, dude, I think I get it, but I don't think I fully get it. But he was like, you get it, and you've been like really trying to tell people. And I will say, I think I get it. I get it enough to understand what a press release is, but I don't think I get it enough to be like, I can tell you everything about ontology or Apollo or things of that nature. I'm still learning it. And so the reason I'm saying that is because if one of their head employees is telling me, thank you, because you actually have like made an attempt to try to understand the company, think about how hard it is internally to describe their culture to the world. Because their culture is so intense and their products are so differentiated that they're like, dude, no one's ever going to get us. And a lot of the employees were just like they just live their life knowing like, hey, I work at a company that no one's ever going to understand. It is what it is. And then because of this community, we've actually illuminated their company to the public. And Karp's done a pretty good job trying to explain it over the past couple of years. And we've done a good job, hopefully, analyzing his thoughts and his ideas and his concepts. And we've all, loaded up at $6, $7, $8, and we made a decent amount of money from it because we saw something was there when Wall Street thought nothing was there. Wall Street thought Snowflake was $150 when Palantir was $6 back in December of 2022. So I really don't want to hear any more shit about Snowflake, dude. Like at some point, like again, like numbers are numbers, right? Numbers are numbers. This is not like this is not even me being funny here. Like at the end of the day, performance, like if you own Tesla for the past 3 years, you've owned dead money. Like it's just that simple. It is just that. Like if you've owned Snowflake at the bottom when Palantir was at $6, you are down. Snowflake's at 120. Palantir's at almost 23. at one point, Palantir got to 27 if you got the bottom. So when it comes for bottom, IPO for DPO, and then year to date for year to date, it's objectively true how Wall Street has lost by betting on other SaaS names over Palantir. And that's pretty cool to know that retail was there when Wall Street didn't get it. But the reason retail was there was because of people like me, Arnie, et cetera, just like trying to figure this shit out because it's really complicated. And it's been a fun journey just trying to figure it out. So that's my ultimate takeaway. I think the employees are incredible. I don't think the stock-based compensation is that crazy when you act. By the way, it's down now. It's 22% of revenues. Snowflake is like 30-40% of revenues. The stock-based compensation starts to make a lot of sense when you realize that these employees are cut from a different cloth. Also, the stock-based compensation starts to make a lot of sense when you realize these guys don't make any money if the stock doesn't go up. It doesn't make sense to get paid in stock if your stock doesn't go up, right? Like then it's just like you're just looking at a stock that's like, oh, I have 20,000 shares of Palantir, but the stock hasn't moved in 2 years. Like so the incentives I think are aligned very well. And all of them, the one thing you can't say about Palantir is that these employees aren't working hard. They're fucking working, dude. Now it's a question of if they can get those bootcamp conversions to be even higher and then the monetization of those bootcamps to be even better. And if they can, then I think Palantir is going to be a very big company. I think, and I haven't even talked about the government business. I think the government business is going to be, I just think so much can happen with Palantir. They can capitalize on AI. They can capitalize on boot camps. They can capitalize on everything going on with AIP, capitalize on the government business. They can really build a global business. You had Fujitsu, all these different Japanese companies that are working Palantir. They haven't even really expanded into India or the Middle East and Asia. There's so much for them to do. They just have to do it. And I think if they can do it, it's going to be really exciting. Isn't it fair to say that the fair value Palantir might be $8 to $12 because of its specialness? Human behavior will probably keep it above 15 to 18. I'm in with a low average, but waiting for big dips. Look, could Palantir get to $15, $18? Sure. Could Tesla get back to 120? Sure. I just think at some point the market is the market. And if the S&P is at 530, the S&P would have to get to 4,700 to get to those levels, or at least 4,800, 4,900. We would have to see a significant dip. We haven't seen below 20 on Palantir since February 5th. And the only time we saw that on Tesla was when everyone thought that, the company was falling apart and then turned on FSD saved it. Now we'll see what happens with this compensation package vote. But I think to get a dip that dramatic, it's not unlikely, it's not impossible. I just personally think it's unlikely given it's also traded in a range. And so now if we fall to like $19.99, people are going to buy the crap out of that dip. Same thing with Robinhood, right? Robinhood falls to $20. People are going to buy that dip because it was just at 23 for the past week, right? Or 22.80 for the past week. And so do we get those prices? I don't think so. But if we do, I think it would be a great opportunity given what I got out of this conference. Okay. I think that's it. That's my takeaway from AIPCon. Now, the one thing I know a lot of people say, oh, Amit's a fanboy. Amit's talking about Palantir. Amit's like, he's talking Palantir's book. He's buddy with Karp. Therefore, he's like, I think there's two things to those questions. Number one, I've been talking about this like Palantir since it was $6. So I think anyone saying that has not followed the journey. I mean, like if it's, I'm not talking about that at 22 because I found Palantir all of a sudden. Like when no one wanted to talk about this stock, when I was down $50,000 on Palantir, I was still talking the way I'm talking right now. And the reason for that was because I genuinely believed in it. So until I get enough evidence, which I can absolutely get enough evidence in the future, let's say the company stops growing. Like there's so many ways I can get evidence. Until I get evidence that shows me Palantir is not becoming the company I think it can become, then yeah, I'm going to keep talking about Palantir in an exciting way because why would I talk about it in a non-exciting way? Like if there's exciting if we get a $480 million contract on a random Tuesday, you bet your ass I'm going to be excited about that. If we get an Oracle partnership, but Oracle doesn't partner with any third-party companies, you bet your ass I'll be excited about that, right? I don't think there's a harm to be excited about that. The question here is about objectivity. And quite frankly, dude, I've been pretty damn objective about Palantir. I've said when it's overvalued hundreds of times in the past year. I've said when I was like, dude, at $8, I was like, I'll wait for $7. Like, and I was buying at $8, but even then I wasn't loading up. Now, like if I went back in time, I would tell my dumbass to start loading up more. I would also buy some Bitcoin. But even at $8, guys, which would put it at a $17 billion valuation, I was still saying, well, 17 billion is a little pricey given the growth. And by the way, I wasn't crazy for that because the growth was not good. It's just when you think about it from a market perspective and what was happening with AI and ChatGPT, it obviously was not going to stay at that price for that long. So for those that say I'm not objective about it, I just think you haven't watched my entire journey because I've been pretty damn objective. I mean, on Palantir Weekly, the amount of times I've said fucking sales sucks and boot camps needs to get, so I don't take those comments that seriously. I just want to make sure I preserve my objectivity, even if I'm, meeting with the company. And I think I'll be able to do that, which I think I've done many times. I've also done that with Robinhood as well. And speaking of Robinhood, I think we need to get to Robinhood. Last thing I'll say is, as someone said, do you want to work for Palantir? I will never work with Palantir. The reason I will never work for Palantir, I don't care if they made me the chief marketing officer tomorrow. I can't lose my independence by working with another company. If I work with, I don't understand when people ask, oh, why wouldn't you work for Palantir? If I work with any company, especially a company like as big as Palantir, I can't do this, dude. I can't get on a stream every day. I'm an official Palantir representative at that point. And anything I talk about has to go through legal. So I like my independence. I like my autonomy, and I want to continue that autonomy. And so going to a Palantir event and hosting a halftime show is way different than being employed by the company. I get to still have my freedom, And so for that reason, I never want to actually work for Palantir or Tesla or anything like that, dude. Like I just want to get to continue to be me and do what I have to do. And there you go. Rodney says, can confirm everything Amit is saying about Palantir, including if he asked what do I do for fun or on Netflix, I'd be confused by the question. So real quick, Rodney, for those that don't know, Rodney, we got to get you on Twitter, bro. We got to get you on Twitter talking. I found a bunch of Palantir people were on Twitter. They just don't tweet too much. Rodney is, I think, a machine learning scientist, a research guy at Palantir. He does some fancy computer science shit that's like really hard. Rodney says, can confirm everything Amit is saying about Palantir, including if he asked what I do for fun or what on Netflix, I'd be confused by the question. I'm telling you guys, I asked these guys, what do you do for fun? They said, we don't have fun. We work. That cocktail reception was probably the first time they got out the whole week. Out of their dungeon and they got to enjoy like human. That's why they're probably happy to talk to me, because they're like, oh, someone we can talk to, because we're not talking to employees anymore. Like, I'm telling you, bro, these guys are different. These guys are different. They're really different. And you'll have people say valuation, you'll have people say snowflake, you'll have people say all this shit. At the end of the day, we are investing in people. That's it. It sounds more like a startup. Yeah, it's a big $50 billion startup. And that culture, and there's a bunch of startups inside of that startup, that culture is so special. It's so real. It's very difficult to replicate that. That's the only point I'm trying to make here, which is what I got from the conference. It is difficult to build a culture where everyone respects the leader, they look up to the leader, and they want to work as hard as the fucking leader, which is Karp, Sham, Ted, all those guys. By the way, Ted was awesome too. It was so awesome to meet Ted. They really, these people want to work hard. And if they're going to work hard, I think the stock will eventually reflect that over time as well. Okay, cool. Let's talk about Robinhood. So what did Vlad tweet? So that's the end of my Palantir rant. Let's go to Robinhood. We have this Apple fucking event later. I'm not going to be able to, I'll be tweeting about it. I can't stream it, guys, because again, Apple's becoming like the CCP. They're going to take down the stream. So we can't do that. Okay, so what is Vlad tweeting? What is Vlad saying? What is Vlad saying? All right, here we go. So Ronnie says they try very hard to keep the startup feel here at Palantir despite scaling the company. Yep, 100%. 100%. And actually, I'll talk about Karp after this Robinhood thing. But when I talked to Karp, he said we're going to try to keep. He said basically we're going to try to become the biggest company in the world while keeping the culture. And like, that's really hard, right, to keep the culture, but he feels very confident they can keep that culture. Karp literally, I got to tell you the funny story about Karp, but Karp literally, he ended up, while he was talking to me, he had to go do an interview and recruit someone and convince them to drop out of Stanford to work for Palantir. Like, this guy's just like incredible. He like this person walked up to him. He's like, oh, so you're the Stanford person I have to convince to drop out of Stanford. And then when she came back to me after she got done talking to Karp, I was like, so what did he say? He was like, he kept telling me, why would I want to work for a discriminatory institution? It was like being super philosophical with her. And I was like, so are you going to quit Stanford? And she was like, I don't know, but I kind of want to after talking to him now. Like, he just has this effect on people that gets people excited about a mission. And could she finish Stanford and probably work for Palantir? Yes. But after that, probably 10-minute interview she had with Karp, just walking around the office, she actually was considering dropping out of Stanford to work at Palantir. And it's like, that's the recruiting skills Karp has. Those are the people he's getting. And it's not easy to be a leader and actually maintain that culture and get those types of people. Okay. So what did Vlad say? Announcing the formation of Harmonic, a commercial AI research lab building mathematical superintelligence. I don't know what the fuck this is. Here we go. Mathematical superintelligence is artificial intelligence with mathematical reasoning capabilities greater than that of all humans. It is by now no secret that while modern LLMs are capable of producing languages that sound and feel human, they can hallucinate or quite confidently state wrong things. Mathematics was invented as a valuable tool by humans to precisely solve this problem. By the way, Vlad has a master's in math. It allows for us to rigorously define and align on a common truth that is the foundation of all scientific discovery. This is one of the reasons I pursued a mathematics PhD before becoming an entrepreneur. So for all the people saying, oh, Vlad doesn't know how to make the company profitable, the dude almost got a math PhD, dude. I think he can understand a P&L. Many of the top research labs believe that mathematical reasoning and the elimination of hallucinations will be an emergent property of larger language models. We have a different take. By incorporating mathematics as a primitive in our models, we will be able to solve this problem directly and able to build an incredibly useful tool for all of humanity. Output produced by our models will be verifiably correct and auditable with no hallucinations. Because of this, MSI will play a critical role anywhere accuracy is essential. Tachim is the CEO of Harmonic. I don't know who this guy is. And I'm serving as executive chairman. For clarity, this endeavor is wholly separate from Robinhood, and my role at Harmonic is non-operating. So he's an executive chairman at a new AI lab. We'll have plenty more to share in the near future about the progress of our models and commercial applications. In the meantime, check us out. Okay, so this is the website. It's separate from Robinhood. Yes, it's separate from Robinhood. Harmonic. About. We are forging the world's most advanced mathematical reasoning engine. It looks like they're trying to make LLMs that don't hallucinate, if I want to like break it down into 5 sentences. And they're hiring a bunch of research people. Okay, this is pretty cool. It doesn't really have anything to do with Robinhood. So, I mean, nothing that crazy. It's good to know that Vlad's in the AI space, a math-based AI that verifies LLMs. Yeah, it seems like that's what it is. Now, what's interesting about this, even though it's not literally part of Robinhood, what's interesting about this, guys, is that I think the obvious AI play for Robinhood is robo-advisory in terms of how to pick stocks. So if they could give you Robinhood 2292, Palantir 2295, if they could give you some type of LLM that helps you pick stocks or figure out what stocks you want to buy or like advise you. I mean, most of these investment firms, they make a shit ton of money off advisory services. That is where AI, I think, gets incorporated into Robinhood. Maybe this lab he's creating kind of is a way to sell services or power or be the engine that powers an advisory type of product inside of Robinhood. This is just a stretch. I'm just kind of like talking out loud here. Maybe that is the case. Maybe it's not, but good for him. He started a new AI lab, and it seems like he's trying to be on the forefront of AI. I really think it's also interesting because you want the CEO of Robinhood thinking of new applications of artificial intelligence. And if he's not, you know, it kind of just leads you thinking, well, what's Robinhood's AI play going to be? Do they really need an AI play? No, but Robinhood is very innovative, right? We know that Robinhood is always been at the forefront of new technology. And if they're going to find a way to incorporate AI into their actual product, then maybe that's going to be a way they blend from Harmonic, which is his new AI lab, to work with Robinhood. So there you go. Cool. Not bad. Can people invest? Probably not. I mean, it's probably Vlad probably self-funded it for now. He's probably funding it in stealth right now, and he's building it up from there. But that's good. I mean, look, another AI thing. It doesn't really affect Robinhood so far right now. Robinhood above 23. But it's good for Robinhood. Now, I mean, just talking about Robinhood a little bit more, dude, this journey of seeing this bad boy above 23 is just absolutely incredible. I mean, I on Friday, I think it crossed 23, or Thursday for the first time. And then Friday it sustained 23. We're going to get the May metrics tomorrow. We got margin rates cut in May. We got a $1 billion buyback announced in May. We had number 80 on the entire app store in May. I mean, the amount of catalyst, we have Bitcoin go to 71,000 in May. The amount of catalyst that happened in May, I think it's going to be big. Cash sweep is now 20 billion. Assets under custody for retirement now 8 billion. It's just my price target is 25 by the end of the year. I still think we get there. Could there be some pullbacks in between? Sure. For the entire market, 100% that could happen. But Robinhood is the one company that I see having so many catalysts. And they need those catalysts, by the way, because it's a cyclical business. So they have to have those catalysts. But their acquisitions of Bitstamp, what they're doing with the credit card, with the gold subscribers, they're building the margin rates. They're building so many different ways to monetize independent of just market dynamics, which I think is incredible. And it's just amazing to watch them execute. CrowdStrike right here up 9.6%. Incredible on CrowdStrike. This is because they got in the S&P 500 on Friday. So I think Robinhood's doing what they have to do, and we're just going to keep continuing to see them execute. And if they keep doing what they need to do, then the market's going to get more excited about Robinhood as well. I've always wondered if AI could beat the market. That would be a good test of AI intelligence. Rodney says all the big quant companies are using AI in their models for the market. Yeah, I would imagine Susquehanna and Citadel, they're all using some form of AI in their models to track the markets. But in general, like, just it's good that Vlad is thinking more about AI. I mean, like, he should, right? Like, because the use cases that could implement into Robinhood, I think, are vast, even if it's just through recommendation algorithms, right? There's all these different ways that they could figure out how to build services into it. And so now they just need to keep executing and see what they can do from there. Chris says, my own experience at the AI conference was in DC, was that Palantir people are smart, humble, thoughtful, and kind. One shared a personal story about their journey. CEOs look for these types, but can't get them. Yeah, I agree. Dude, it was an incredible conference. I met a lot of people. They were really, really awesome people. And again, if I met people that I felt were unimpressive, or I was just like, oh, this guy is like, look at this schmuck. Like, who is he working at Palantir? Like, I would say it, dude. I'm not afraid to say it. I don't have any contractual agreement. Like, I can critique whoever I want to critique. I'm telling you, every fucking person I talk to, I'm blown away. I'm just blown away. There's one girl literally came from Korea for she's been on the road for 7 weeks. She came just for the AIP conference because one of her clients from Korea was at AIPCon. So she literally came for 2 days just to meet that client. I mean, these people are they're different, bro. They're different. And I think the reason they're different is because they want to be different. You have to ultimately want to be a little different. And I think that's the reason why they work at Palantir. It's just, there was no one that I wasn't impressed by. I connected with a bunch of these people on LinkedIn. So now I'm making connections with them, and hopefully I can get them on some podcasts. But I think you might just have to take my word for it that they were really incredible people, and hopefully we get to hear more from them over the coming months publicly. NVIDIA right here, 121. So NVIDIA's up 1% on the split news. So it fell to 117. Whoever got that dip is doing well right now at 121. Not bad. So that's great for NVIDIA. Imagine Bitcoin hits 100,000, then Robinhood should also go to the moon. Yeah, we didn't even talk about the crypto catalyst, dude. Originally, I got Robinhood at $8 because I thought crypto was going to do well, and I thought Robinhood would be a good proxy. And I just did not expect for them to capitalize on this moment in the way that they are doing. They're really making it their moment, dude. It's quite exceptional to see a company make this their moment, and they're making it their moment. They're really making it their moment. Did Palantir pay you? No, Palantir did not pay me. And so I think the June metrics tomorrow, or the May metrics, are going to be exciting. I'm looking for close to 100,000 new accounts. I don't know what I'm looking at for crypto volumes. I'm trying to see maybe 15 billion, 10 to 15 billion. That's what they had last month in crypto volumes. Net deposits, I'm looking for above 3 billion. And then options volumes is probably going to be a monthly high or yearly high. Equity is probably going to be relatively the same at 70 billion. And then margin balance is probably going to be close to 4.2, 4.3 billion. Last month it was at 4.1 billion. I just think they're going to execute, dude. And they've been proving that they know how to execute, which is the fun part about this entire journey. Seeing them do what they have to do. I'm pulling up one thing right here on my Twitter. Yeah, so this is the thing that I showed. Chris says, bye, I gotta work. Yeah, Chris, thank you for being here, man. Appreciate it. We'll see you later. Guys, I'm not gonna do a market close today either, because this one's really long, and we'll get back to the normal schedule tomorrow, market open, market close. But today, just because we're going long on this one, I'm just not going to do a market close, and we'll just get back to schedule like normal tomorrow. So again, in the past 5 months, 3% card, 1% match on brokerage. That even hasn't gone live yet, dude. That's going to go live in the next freaking week. So think about the deposit increase that's going to have. Margin rates cut in half, a new crypto trading API, retirement AUC, 24-hour trading hit 20 billion on Thursday, Vlad said. $1 billion buyback plan, cash sweeps 20 billion, UK brokerage, EU. They just bought a crypto license or crypto exchange with 50 licenses. GameStop and AMC, they're up 30% for the month. So the people that have that's going to help their assets under custody. That's going to help their trading volumes. I mean, just there's just so much they're doing, and they're not stopping. Buying a crypto company, really? a crypto company. They just are not stopping. And so it's really exciting to see them execute and keep doing what they have to do. What's going on with Ginkgo Bioworks? I don't know, dude. This thing has been bad. It sucked. Path is up about 1% today. Rocket Lab up about 0.68%. Ginkgo's been in a tough situation. I wouldn't touch Ginkgo. It's just a little scary right now with Ginkgo because they're still worth 1.12 billion in terms of their market cap, and I don't know if they deserve $1 billion market cap. The revenue is only going to be close to 200 million, something like that. Like it's a 5 times price to sales for Ginkgo makes no sense, which is why Kathy's not buying the dip. You know, she's now liquidating Teladoc. She's selling Zoom. Now I wonder if she starts selling Ginkgo. If she does, Ginkgo's going to crash even more because she owns the majority of shares, I believe, in Ginkgo. So I don't know. Ginkgo is not one I would touch right now, but it's in a tough situation. Do you plan to watch Apple's event? Yes, but I can't stream it. I really wish I could. I would, but again, we've done this enough times to know Apple will stop the stream because they're probably gonna get mad when I say that every update they announce is fucking stupid. But Bitcoin right here trying to get 70K. Okay, so let's end on Apple. So Bitcoin right here at 70K. Apple 195. It's down right now. Apple stock might pump. Okay, after this earnings. I don't really think they're going to announce anything interesting. Yeah, Gene, we'll talk about macro real quick in a second. I think that Apple's going to introduce Siri and make it exciting. I think they're going to try to say like, oh, we have this new AI intelligence platform. I think Apple is the kid that's trying to finish their project in 2 days before it's due on Friday. And unfortunately, I don't think they're going to have anything that exciting. Now, I could be wrong. I'm ready to be proven wrong. But I don't think Apple's going to announce something so brilliant and so exciting that the market's going to be like, oh my God, Apple. That's the AI play. I don't think that's going to be the case. And if that's not going to be the case, then I don't know, dude. Let me know in the chat what you think. Let me know in the chat what you think. Joe says those are the best projects, bro. They are, but not when you're worth 3 trillion. When you're worth like 100 billion, yeah, you could get away with that shit, but 3 trillion, dude, the market, and Apple's now up 5% year to date. At one point, it was down 10%. So Tesla's now the only stock out of the Max 7 that's down. They're announcing the new OS software. I think they're going to incorporate ChatGPT throughout the entirety of their software. And it's going to be like, you can be like, hey, call me an Uber and book it with the lowest price and like buy my toilet paper or something. And you can just talk to Siri and she'll get all of it done. Cool. I don't know if that's enough to create a massive upgrade cycle for Apple. So I'm a little skeptical of Apple. I don't think we're gonna get any Vision Pro updates either. I mean, maybe we do, maybe we don't, but I just think at some level, Apple's not that exciting right now. And it's pumped a lot. They have those buybacks ready to go. Will they pump more? Probably. Do people need to upgrade the iPhone? Yes. About 200 million people need to upgrade, but they're going to need a good reason to upgrade. And I don't think they have. I don't know if they're going to give the best reason. I'll probably be wrong, and they'll probably announce something so amazing the street's going to get excited. But right now, I'm a little bit more skeptical on Apple, and if the growth is really going to be that exciting because of these AI announcements. I'm starting to think a lot of the AI consumer stuff is just not that interesting, or that ChatGPT is one, and that maybe Apple doesn't really have that much up their sleeve to really make it exciting. But I think the enterprise use cases of AI are real, and then the consumer use cases are real as well. They might just not be that important enough to grow Apple's bottom line. So we'll see. We'll see if that happens. Bitcoin right here, 69,879. Yeah, Bitcoin, nice green candle right there. Now the ETF inflows have been phenomenal on Bitcoin. 2 billion in inflows over the past week, which is incredible. I mean, they had an $886 million day on Thursday, and I think that was followed up by a $400 million day. So the toots are coming in. The problem is people keep selling once it gets to 72,000. It gets really tough to break 72,000. So it's got to burst through it at one point. And I think what bursts through it is rate cuts. So let's end on some macro news. A couple things going on in the macro. We got retail sales today, and they were up 1%, 1.4% month over month. That's not good because the retail sales need to be down to show the Fed that inflation's coming down. And that's not happening right now. So unfortunately, if retail sales continue to be as hot as they are, then the Fed's going to have a hard time actually being able to cut rates. So that's the first thing. Second of all, the unemployment data last week was a joke. I don't understand how we have unemployment at 4%, but we raised 400,000 jobs, or we got 400,000 more jobs, or we revised the numbers from the previous month. So the jobs numbers are very weird. It's incongruent from a JOLTS perspective to a jobs added on the payrolls perspective to a unemployment rate perspective. All three of those don't really make a lot of sense. So that's one thing I think Jerome Powell's pretty confused about. And then CPI I think is going to be good. I don't think CPI is going to be bad. I think it's this week. The reason CPI is not going to be bad this week is because oil, where's oil right now? Oil has been below 80. Oil's at 76 right now. Oil's been below 80 for the majority of May. Shelter disinflation is coming. We know Jay Powell said shelter disinflation is coming. So you got shelter disinflation coming. You've got oil disinflation that's happening. The bank of the European Central Bank, they lowered rates, ECB, and then Canada lowered rates. Now, Canada and ECB lowering rates didn't really create that much of a catalyst in the United States. And a lot of people were thinking, oh, there wasn't a catalyst because inflation is still too sticky. I actually think the reason the S&P 500 didn't get to like 540 when rates got cut in Canada and the ECB, because then the argument from the bulls is like, oh, the market should start pricing in a rate cut in July if the ECB in Canada already cut in May or in June. The problem is the S&P is already up almost 13% year to date. And I think given the S&P is up so much, it's hard to give it that much more of a premium if inflation is still above 2%, right? Which is the Fed's target. It's still above 2.5%. And people would take profits. I mean, if it goes to 540, 550, people are taking profits because it's a little bit too much, a little bit too quickly. NVIDIA is the only one that's immune to that happening. So I think that's kind of the issue going on right now in the context of macro. Now, another thing that's really important, and a lot of people probably missed it, let me know if you guys saw this or not, money market funds increased on Thursday. Money market funds increased 23 billion, 6.09 trillion. So what was interesting to me seeing money market funds increase on a week last week where the S&P did relatively well and the rates came down in Canada and Europe, was that, the market still does not trust that the United States of America is ready to lower interest rates just because our neighbors are lowering interest rates. Therefore, they're piling more money into these money market funds. So the jobs issue is really weird given the unemployment rate. The money market funds are going up. The inflation rate is going to come down, but it's still going to be sticky because retail sales are continuing to go higher. And until something starts to crack, whether it's unemployment or retail sales or money market funds start to, leave the markets or leave those funds and start entering into the stock market, I don't know where we see the next leg up, because we already had a stellar earnings. And look, the S&P is at all-time highs. Like the earnings that we had justified the S&P that we have right now. Are Q2 earnings going to be so good along with, can growth go higher while inflation comes down? That is the Goldilocks zone. Can that happen over the next 90 days to push us even higher? Now, Tom Lee thinks that's going to happen. Tom Lee thinks that the S&P can hit NVIDIA right here, 122. Tom Lee thinks the S&P can hit 5,500 in June. I think that's possible. I just think if that happens, maybe we have a little bit of a pullback, right? Because that would be really quick, unless we're on our path to 6,000, which is not crazy. If we get 3 rate cuts, that's not crazy. But one of the reasons I think we're going to get rate cuts is because at the end of the day, if we are seeing some weakness in retail, or we're seeing a smidge of weakness in jobs, which we are, but that jobs payroll number was weird, but it did go up to 4%. And the JOLTS did come down. There's still 8 million jobs, but there's not like 9 million jobs like there were 5 months ago. Then there is a little bit of weakness in the economy. And if there's weakness in the economy, it gives the Fed the precedent to cut. The question is, when is that first cut going to happen? I think it's September. Some people are saying July. If it's July, that would be amazing. Robinhood right here at 23.03, Palantir at 22.94. But if we do get that cut soon, then I think that's going to be pretty exciting for the market. NVIDIA right now at 122. I just don't think the market believes we're going to get that cut yet. S&P 500 right here. Oh, wow. S&P is green, 534. S&P is green at 534. So having put all that together, I think it still makes sense to be bullish. I don't think it makes sense to not be bullish. I just think it's going to take some time for the next leg up. And that's going to require CPI data to come in good. And look, this week of CPI, I don't know what the projections are, but last month we got 3.4. If we get to 3.1, I think the market's going to get happy. If we get to 3.0, the market's going to, if we get to 2.9, it's going to be crazy. But even if we get to 3.2, we're on the right path, right? And oil and shelter hopefully should lead us there this month. And it should get the precedent set for us getting to the 540s, 550s, 560s, and maybe the 6,000s if we get another cut later this year. And earnings lives up to the expectations that we needed to live up to in Q2, which from everything we've seen, I mean, Costco's June numbers are up 8% year over year. Costco just had earnings. They had a good earnings. Their June numbers just came out because they do the monthly numbers as well. They're up 8%. I mean, people are still shopping. People are still buying. So from that perspective, I do think that the economy is not in a horrible spot right now. And I think if inflation comes down enough, that is enough of a reason for the Fed to cut. And if there's enough of a reason for the Fed to cut, then that is going to be the catalyst that is needed for the market to do well. And that's going to be a catalyst for Bitcoin because we're going to have more liquidity in the system, which is good for some of the crypto companies as well. Raytheon just awarded a $677 million contract from the U.S. Navy. Okay, cool. Awesome. I will look into that after the market open. Let me write that down right now. Raytheon, U.S. Navy. And so again, Raytheon getting that contract, I have no idea what that contract is. I'm pretty sure it's some type of hardware contract because Raytheon's a hardware defense contractor. But the government's willing to spend money, right? We keep seeing the government willing to spend money. And if they're willing to spend that much money, $677 million, $480 million for Palantir, then there's a lot of money coming from the government for AI and machine learning. Rivian is up 1184, 2.73%. Remember that one debit spread we brought on Rivian? Let me see if it's up right now. We bought this a while ago. Oh yeah, it's up. We're up $9, guys. We're up $9 on that debit spread. we bought for Rivian. I still don't know enough about Rivian, dude. I don't know if this thing's $20 by December 2026. If it is, the calls are cheap. If it's not, then we'll have to see. Same thing with Path. Rivian and Path, we still got to do some due diligence there and see if it gets there. But yeah, we'll keep doing that due diligence and see if that plays out. Bitcoin pushing 70K. Yeah, again, the problem with the reason I don't get excited about Bitcoin at 70K now is because it keeps getting eaten up every time it gets there, which is the sad part. So I don't know. I think the market makers are just waiting to let it loose. But the ETFs are doing a good job eating up all the supply. And as long as that keeps happening and more people buy in and stop selling at those ranges, then it can do well. The other thing about Bitcoin that I think is important is, again, interest rates have to come down for that liquidity to open up. And I know, people are saying there's liquidity. Yes, there's liquidity, but when interest rates come down, there's a lot more liquidity. People do not want to get 4.75% in a money market fund, and if it's a downward trend, people really don't want to stay stuck in something where the yield is, 5% is already below average given this year, but it can get like really bad, And so I think money's going to start piling into a ton of things, but those interest rates have to come down. And when it does, that should happen. Also, the Ethereum ETFs will be a catalyst as well once those get approved officially. Okay, cool. That's it for me. Yeah, that's it. Thank you for the happy birthday wish. It's not my birthday, but I appreciate it. Overall, it was an exciting conference. Word of the day. Yeah, thank you, Sethi Roth. You're the one person that reminded in the chat. Let's do word of the day. We have to do word of the day because we haven't done word of the day in so long. Word of the day is Mistral.
Mistral.
A cold, dry wind common in southern France and neighboring regions. California had no Mistrals. It was nice weather. Bay Area, really nice. So no Mistrals. But if I ever go to France, then maybe we'll experience some Mistrals. Overall, guys, it was a fun conference. It was a really exciting event. I think I enjoyed. Oh, the hat. So the hat is the hat. Did you guys see how I got the hat? If you guys saw the halftime show, how many people actually saw the halftime show? The halftime show was super cool, but at the end, Natalie and Sasha, they made these hats for us, and that's why they got us these hats. This was like right here.
To play Oprah. Got a little gift
Oh.
for this crew here.
Oh, what do we got here?
Oh, okay.
we
Oh, look
got
at
it.
this.
Wow.
Wow.
I did not
Okay.
know this was
Happens
happening.
under
Hold
the
on
seat.
here.
We've got a surprise here.
There we go.
My final
This is
thought.
great. AI mitts.
Can't have
Oh,
Palantir
that is
without
How do you
AI.
know
Alright.
exactly
Jack,
that I've been
Chad,
wanting,
Nat,
honestly.
thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me from
Thanks,
home.
everybody.
Now we're going back to AIPCon. Okay, this part was so awkward because they just stayed on us for 10 seconds. And we're literally just like, this has the Palantir logo in the back, by the way. You can see it right there. They just had to stay there, and then finally they went up. So they were supposed to leave a little earlier, but it's okay. And then I just started hugging everybody because it was super cool. It was a cool moment, dude. It was a cool moment. I'm not a Palantir employee, but these guys definitely made me feel like I was one of them, and so they really accepted me, and they made me feel welcome, and they made me feel like I was part of the crew, and it was super fun. You know, I take my role at that conference very similar to what Andrew Ross Sorkin does all the time. You know, Andrew Ross Sorkin on CNBC, he goes and he interviews people, he goes on panels, and he's like moderating and all that stuff. And you know, there is a bit of a skill on how to do that effectively and keep the conversation going and all that stuff. And I would be open to doing that for other companies in the future, right? Even if I don't have a big position in NVIDIA, if NVIDIA needs someone to moderate a panel with Jensen or something like that, like, yeah, of course, I would love to do that, right? So I just think there's a lot of opportunities that can come from this. And that's why I was excited to do it. My name is not Sen. I don't know why they called me Sen, but like I was like, guys, they're like, we don't know, dude. And granted, they were running around so much, bro, because they were so busy the whole time. But overall, it was super fun, and I enjoyed it, dude. California is awesome. It was a great time, and it was just cool meeting a lot of people at Palantir as well. That like Lewis Mosley, I met that guy. Let me just show you guys these last pictures, then I'll be done. Lewis Mosley is the head of the Palantir NHS, and or not the NHS, but the Palantir UK. And I was like, yo, thanks for getting us that fucking deal. He started laughing his ass off. He was like, man, it was really tough to get that damn deal, but we got the deal. So this is Lewis Mosley. He's so tall, dude. This is Sasha. She's the one who set up this entire event. And then there's Carp, the V's for victory. And then me and Arnie at the AIPCon photo booth thing. And then Chad, he was getting his makeup done because Chad's a princess. And we were at Stanford. It was me. There was Carp live on stage doing his thing. And then what else do we have? And then this was AIPCon right before the actual event happened. Or this was like a day before. This was dress rehearsal. And then this was Chad talking to another dude, talking about ontology, of course, talking about that. And then Akshay, this guy, I think a lot of people don't know him. Akshay was, he's the chief architect of Palantir, and he did a video in Carp's barn in 2022. If you just type in Akshay Palantir, he'll pop up, and he's like super awesome. He gave me some awesome life advice as well. He's been a fan of the content. So Akshay is like he's one of the smartest guys ever. I think he's been in Palantir for like 15 years or something. And then this was our Inside the NBA. I was Ernie. I was the white guy, ironically. And then we had Shaq, Chuck, and Kenny. So it was super fun. Super, super fun. It was a good time. They looked at you and thought he looks like a Sen. Let's call it that. Yeah, dude, it was fun. It was fun. Guys, I would stream the Apple event, but again, there's no way I can stream it without them. I'm telling you, dude, they're going to nuke a lot of people. They might not nuke it during the event, but after they fucking nuke your stream and they say that you violated our integrity and all the blah, 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 blah bullshit. And like, I can't do anything about it. Bitcoin, it hit 70K for like 2 seconds. Right now, 69,926. So I'll be keeping up with it. I'll be live tweeting. If you're not following me on Twitter yet, make sure you follow on Twitter. I'll put my Twitter in the chat. And let's see what Apple says today. And we'll keep going from there. All right. Thank you. Brian says, Amit, is this your full-time job? Yeah, pretty much, but it doesn't feel like a job. It feels like my purpose in life. And no, I seriously mean that. I seriously mean that. GameStop's down 11%. Yeah, GameStop's down. The other thing I learned this week, guys, I like so much news was happening and I couldn't cover it. Like physically, I could not cover it because I didn't have the Wi-Fi. By the way, the Wi-Fi at the Airbnb sucked. So that was the other thing. The Wi-Fi sucked. Like there's just so many obstacles to like being in my zone and streaming. Like when Roaring Kitty was streaming, we should have been streaming, watching Roaring Kitty streaming, right? Like that's stuff like I need to do, that I have to do, that I want to do, that like that's breaking news you have to cover. You just couldn't do it. I realized not being able to do it. I don't like that shit, dude. I really don't like that shit. And like taking a vacation or taking a break, As long as there's Wi-Fi and I have 2 hours in the morning to take that vacation, then I'll take it. But outside of that, there's no point to take the vacation and to get a break from doing something when you already love doing what you're doing. It doesn't make any sense. And second of all, it's one of those things where I don't need to relax or like, have fun. Like the reason I went to California was for work. And so that's why I accepted not being live and not really going hard at it like I usually do. But this is not the time is what I'm trying to say. Like now we're turning into 27, getting into the last 3 years of my 20s. This is the time where you got to eat shit and you got to fucking work, dude. You really like, it's just, this is the beauty of American capitalism and meritocracy is if you work and you have a little bit of talent as you're developing your skills when you work, you win in this country. You win in this, and given this Elon decision, maybe that's not going to be the case for future precedents, but in this country, if you work, you win. And it's not like that in many other countries, dude. In a lot of parts around the world, you work, 70% of your dollars are taken away to the government. Like, so like, like at this stage of my life, I don't like the idea of going on vacation or going on a trip, or like, if it interferes with doing what I need to do, it's not worth it at all. It's just not worth it. So this is the time to grind. Like, and there's certain moments in life where you just gotta grind, dude. And like the ironic part is it doesn't feel like a grind. It feels like it is a grind. Like I'm tired. I haven't slept in like the past 18 hours. Like I'm very tired, but like the reason I've been talking for 2 hours and 54 minutes, did we have any breaks? No, we tried to play the CNBC lady and then the stream shut off. So we had literally no break. Or I think we played for like 2 minutes. The reason I like this is because I love this shit, dude. I really love this shit. Like literally I was driving down Pacific Coast Highway, or I wasn't driving, someone else was driving. And the PCH and like the Roaring Kitty stuff breaks out. And I'm like, I need my phone. I'm like, I got to tweet this. I got to get this news. I got to analyze. This is just, I think I'm a content creator inside and out. It's what I think I was made to do. And I never want to stop doing it. Another thing, yes, I think we'll have finance junkies tonight. Another thing is a bunch of people DM me asking, hey, should I quit my job and become a content creator? I am going to do a video for those people, either a live stream or like a private video. I don't know what it is, but it's going to be something posted on the channel. Where I answer that question in depth for like an hour, because I have a lot of thoughts on it. And the amount of DMs that I'm getting from people that see what I'm doing with content and see what I'm doing with like, getting to do these Palantir events and all this stuff. And they're like, yo, I kind of want to do the same thing. Should I quit my job? I've gotten like 5 or 6 of them over the weekend. The answer is no. The answer is unequivocally no. And the reason the answer is no is because like my mom will tell you how obsessed I am with content. Like I'm in a conversation with her. It like kills me to not look at my phone and like make sure, I'm on Twitter and I'm tweeting and like she's just accepted it because she knows that I'm in this stage where I'm grinding, And is it unhealthy? Yes, it's a little unhealthy. But the level of obsession that is necessary to like quit your job, because this doesn't even make that much money. So it's like, it's not like, we're making a ton of money, right? But the impact of this is what you have to be going for. Same thing with Palantir to an extent, right? A lot of those employees take a haircut in terms of their base salary, but they get paid in stock because they believe in the purpose. I'm taking a pretty massive haircut in terms of like annual salary. Now, if Robinhood keeps doing what it has to do, that makes up for it. But like because I believe that I can build my brand to a certain level that is going to eventually pay in the future. But it's not about the money. It's about, are you willing to eat shit for those years? And so I think a lot of the people that have been asking me that question, they don't fully get it. And it goes back to the point where I don't even like talking about this shit anymore, dude. Like when I was at this wedding and like some of my friends from high school or from college, they were trying to ask, what am I doing? Like, dude, I don't know how to explain it. I don't know what to say. And you can tell they already think I'm a loser when I'm talking to them because they're working at their fancy 6-figure jobs or whatever. And I'm like, at the end of the day, it is what it is. I have no malice in my heart for what you're doing, but I can't explain this anymore. It's just, you have to be obsessed with building a brand and you have to care about the content you're putting out. And this week taught me, after not being able to do it and how deeply I wanted to do it, that I'm absolutely obsessed with doing this. And part of the risk of being obsessed with doing this is like, one day, what if the audience doesn't care, right? That's one of the reasons I was actually thinking of taking that job, is because I was like, well, what if it's a hedge against the risk of the audience not caring one day? And quite frankly, the conclusion I came to, because audiences are fickle, right? They can lose attention, right? So like things can happen. One of the conclusions I came to is that if the audience actually doesn't care anymore, like like they just don't care about consuming your content or you're not growing, it's because you're not good enough to keep innovating, right? Like if Apple stock falls 20% in the next couple months, it's because no one gives a shit about their AI products. And like part of that is ruthless. Like, yo, you're just not good enough. Like, oh, why didn't I get into the NBA? Because you suck. Right? You suck, right? That like that's why you didn't get into the NBA. Or maybe you're really good, but you're just not as good as you need to be. I think with content, it's the same thing. To compete in today's environment in terms of maintaining a daily dose of attention from people that actually care about the ideas and thoughts that you're putting out into the world and turn that into a business one day, you have to be good enough. And one of the reasons I rejected that job offer that I was telling you guys about is because at some level I'm thinking, I think I'm good enough. And I think I have enough faith and trust in my skills to keep getting better and better, because that's basically what's happened over 2 years. Get better and better and better, more innovative, more exciting. Let's get the production of this better. Let's get guests on the show. Like let's really build it out. Let's really do it to the point where it's undeniable that people want to show up. And I think that's the messages I got this week of not being able to show up to a show because there was no show kind of proved that to me as well. So I think at some level you have to bet on yourself. At some level you have to bet on yourself. June says, truly had a mid content withdrawal last week. See, that means so much to me, dude. That really means a lot. And like with June's comment, none of my friends understand what June's comment means, right? But to me, that comment means everything, because that means that we're building something that people actually care. But to the outside world, they don't understand how to interpret that. They don't know what that means, right? They don't know how to monetize that. And again, at some level, if you're going to build your own shit, you're going to eat a lot of shit. And if eating shit requires going to Palantir'S AIP conference, if that's the shit I have to eat on my own dime, because I spent a lot of money doing all this stuff, then sure, I'll eat that shit. But there's worse shit that people have eaten in the beginning stages of their career. And by the way, I also ate worse shit. The Palantir AIPCon thing is 3 years in the making of getting to that. A couple of years ago, this shit wasn't fun, dude. I was driving 120 miles every single day back and forth up in New Jersey, just getting enough money that I could pay my bills with my consulting job, or my consulting client, because it wasn't a job, but I had a really big client. And so it was I've been through a lot of shit to get to here in this moment. So throwing away this moment would make no sense, right? And so that's why we're here. That's why we're here. And now we just got to keep working and keep doing what we can do. And hopefully this thing gets more exciting and more fun over the next coming years. And when I mean years, dude. Let's fucking go. Let's build this. Let's keep going. Let's do what we have to do. And let's just win. Ashwin says, you've done and continue to do your hard yards. Dig your journey. You are ready. I appreciate it, Ashwin. Means a lot. Means a lot. Let's keep going, bro. Let's keep going. Let's keep doing it. I think this is the most fun job in the world. And I'm excited to do it every morning, and having other people excited to do it. It's super meaningful. Again, this whole AIP conference, again, being on a stage, you guys know my backstory. I've always wanted to be on a stage for a living. I wanted to perform for a living. Every morning, the reason I wasn't nervous about AIPCon is because there would be like 2,000, 3,000 people on the stream. I'm like, I talk to that many people every single day on these live streams. So it's not like it's a fear thing. It's more so a question of just executing it right. And Palantir trusted me enough that I would figure it out. They really trusted me. They didn't have a fear that Amit's going to get stage fright or he's going to shit himself on stage. I went to the bathroom in the morning for a good hour that Monday morning. I made sure there was not, because when I get nervous, dude, you never know, in the stage like that, you don't want to get nervous in that moment. So they trusted I would figure it out and I would execute. And I think I did. And now we just got to execute on a broader level. But this is the only thing I could imagine doing for a living. There's nothing more fun than this. And so if you're in the heat of it, let's just fucking keep growing and make it bigger and bigger, get it better and better. And let's keep going. And let's develop a whole community out of this, which that's the other thing I realized over the past week is I think there's a real community here, dude. The amount of people that reached out that wanted to house me in their home in the Bay Area and shit. There's so many people just reached out and they cared. And I think it's a really special thing as a creator to have a community that cares, even if the reason all of us came together is because of Palantir, which is to me, what is the point of an internet community? It's a single interest that gets people together. And then that community then grows together. Right now, unfortunately for the GameStop community, the single interest is GameStop. And I fundamentally don't believe that that's a good thing to come together around, but it's cool. It's fun, but it's not I don't think it's something you can grow with together. Palantir is one of those things that's going to be a generational company, in my opinion, over the next decade. So I think it's something we can all grow this community together. This community can get bigger and bigger and bigger. Seeing Palantir embrace the community was super special. But in that community exists the market open, the market close, these like, different one-off streams, these like moments together, potential meetups in the future, all these different things that comes together with building a media brand. And that's the most exciting. On top of that, Robinhood has been a hell of a journey this year, dude. Robinhood, I started talking about it on the channel publicly around $8, $9, and a lot of people have fallen into the Robinhood story, right? Excited about it, whether because they became investors or because they just wanted to see how the story plays out. And that became a journey in and of itself inside of this journey. So I think as a community, there will be internal journeys in this journey, and it'll just get bigger and grow larger and larger. And that's up to me to be able to continue to push the growth of that into the future and maximize my skill sets to make it better. And the final thing is, as long as I'm funny, I don't think anyone's leaving. So Bitcoin right here, 70,000. And that part is the part that I really don't worry about at all. You're talking about losing sleep at night. I mean, when I remember, hey, if I'm funny, no one's going to leave, I sleep like a baby. So from that perspective, I really do think this, we will survive forever. And exactly this, what I hear every night from my side chick, GoDaddy, that's like that. Like, as long as I keep going, we're going to keep doing what we have to do. See, funny. We got to keep being funny. Where's GoDaddy right now? Where's their ticker? The thing's up 2%. Okay, fucking GoDaddy. They accepted GoDaddy over Palantir. GoDaddy. Like, are you kidding me, dude? Now, granted, Palantir wasn't going to get in because the institutional ownership was low. I get it. GoDaddy's like 87%. But GoDaddy? Goodness gracious, dude. Freaking GoDaddy. They picked GoDaddy. Out of all things, they picked GoDaddy, dude. They picked GoDaddy. Bitcoin 70,000. Yep, Bitcoin 70,000. Not bad at all. All right, guys. So I'll get out of here. Thank you all for listening to me. I appreciate it. 70,128 on GoDaddy, not on GoDaddy, on Bitcoin. Apple event is coming up. I'll be live tweeting it. We'll see what we get. S&P 500, 534. That's it for me. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. GoDaddy, actually, it's a good company. The domain hosting company. They've been around for a long time. I think they deserve to be in the S&P 500. It's just they got it over Palantir, and I was like, damn, that's kind of wild. That's kind of wild. Robinhood 2306, Palantir 2296, and that's what we got. And then GameStop right here, 2491. So GameStop is down about 11% on the day. Are you streaming the Tesla investor meeting? There's a Tesla investor meeting. Are you talking about the June 13th one where they vote for the thingy? Yes, I'll stream that if that's public. Are they okay? I guess I've been so out of the loop the past couple of days. I didn't even know there was a Tesla investor. It's June 13th, right? They're voting on the Elon thing, right? Yeah, we'll be streaming that, dude. If they're voting, that's a big one. Yeah, so we'll be streaming that and we'll see what happens from there. All right. That's it for me. 2480 right now on GameStop. S&P 500, 534.72. Let's see how the Apple event goes. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. I will see you guys probably on Finance Junkies tonight. And then tomorrow, market open, 8:45 a.m., market close, 3:45. We're back into action, and we'll keep going from there. Thanks, everyone. Have a good one. Love you all. Bye-bye. See you later.